Good. There it is. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad everybody came. It's a beautiful day. I know you'd rather be outside, but I'm glad you're here. We're going to start in about 10 minutes, and we're going to play a trivia game. So if there's any ProPresenter experts out there or production experts, then you'll excel at this. The way you're going to play the game is taking whatever device that you might have, your phone, your tablet, your laptop, your Abacus, whatever. Go to this ccg.buzz in your favorite browser, and you're going to enter the code 124M, 124M. If you want to go ahead and get prepared for that, put in your real name, please, because we're going to have a lot of people. So, and then we'll get started with trivia in about 10 minutes. For those just coming in, we're going to start with trivia in about 5 minutes. To get ready for that, you can choose your favorite web browser within your phone, or otherwise go to the site ccg.buzz or scan the fancy QR code. The code for our game is 124M, as in mother. And let's see how many players I have already. 51 players already. It's going to be competitive. Oh, no, 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 no. Sorry, one sec. All right, before we get started with trivia, I'm going to just start and ask, has anybody had an event that they had everything planned out to the 9th degree and then things just went wrong right from the get-go? Yeah, everybody? So just to illustrate that point, I'm going to have to give you a new code. I'm sorry. So if you could, it's still ccg.buzz, but because of my error, it's very embarrassing. I'm going to give you the code WWSS. Yes, I'm sorry. You can say leave game or whatever it is, but yeah, we're going to have to. There's the new code, WWSS. And I did that intentionally just to, make everybody feel better that not everything goes as planned all the time. Right? You believe that? 34 people already connected. My goodness. You all are beautiful. This is a magnificent crowd. Anybody else's church look like this? You have couches in the back. It's pretty cool. 64 already. You all clearly know how to use electronic devices. 72. In the uncomfortable silence, we'll give it a couple seconds. This game that we're going to play is called Trivia Time. And let me change my background behind here. Gosh, so unprofessional. This game is made by a good friend of mine. His name's Brad, and his twin brother Brian. I've known Brad forever, and I like to say that he reflects the light of Jesus more than any person I've ever met. And he and his brother happen to make these little games started with youth groups and youth camps and whatnot, and now they're on cruise ships all over the world. So this is a fun game called Trivia Time. You're going to play on your phones. The winner wins a fabulous prize that I don't know what it is yet. We have 90 people, and you don't need to play. It's not required. You can just follow along. This is a lot of random ProPresenter, renewed vision, facts, etc. So the more that you know about ProPresenter, the better you might do. So still a couple people trickling in. Again, you'll go to ccg.buzz. The URL is at the top right, ccg.buzz. You'll enter in code WWSS. We have 92. When I get to 100 people, then we'll start playing. I saw, sir, what's your name? Jerry? Jerry, you brought your own Pepsi because you're from North Carolina. Is that why? I realized that we were in North Carolina, and I thought, oh my gosh, we got Coke. Who's a big C over Coke? Anyone? Yeah, you're all wrong. It's okay. We're from Atlanta, so we can't, I'm sorry. I'm sorry? Yeah, I'll choose water over all of it. It's true. I'm right there with you. All right, 95, 96. Need 4 more players. I don't really need 4 more players. We're 3 minutes late. 97, ccg.buzz. You can come in at a later time should you want to. But, all right. Next 10 minutes, we're going to have some fun games. Who thinks they know ProPresenter backwards and forwards? Well, I kind of do. Well, we're going to test that. Anybody here that is under 20? Raise your hands if you're under 20. 1. You used to be. Okay, everybody. There are a couple. Excellent. David, there's 2 Davids that are under 20. David, what's your name? I'm sorry, how old are you? 19? Okay, David, 14 has you beaten. Over here, 16. And what's your name? Sophia. I'm going to pick on all 3 of you. I'm so glad you're here. You'll see why in a little while. All right, do we have 100? We do have exactly 100. Is everybody ready? You have your devices ready? Okay, the questions are going to come up on your device as well as on the screen. And here we go. First question. According to the song Heaven Meets Earth Like a, what is the correct answer? Is it friend meets a loved one, sky on the horizon, dog greets its owner, or sloppy wet kiss? I'd like for it to be like a dog meets its owner. That'd be very, very nice. All right, the majority say sloppy wet kiss. That is, of course, the correct answer. I didn't put in that other weird answer that sometimes say. What button is not in the ProPresenter toolbar? Media, themes, Bibles, or macros? Get tricky really quick. Under time pressure, I don't know that I'd get this right away. Majority say macros. That is the correct answer. Good job, everybody. M wins. Well, we'll see if M wins. What is the worst nickname for ProPresenter? Is it Pro, Presenter, PP or Pro 7? This is not a subjective question. %8 of you got the correct answer. That is the worst name. Please do not refer to ProPresenter as PP. What is the ProPresenter icon for looks in the toolbar? Is it binoculars, a magnifying glass, a mustache and glasses, or eyes and a nose? If any of you have stickers on the table, they were snatched up. It's one of the stickers. That's the hint. A mustache and glasses. 39% of you chose the correct answer. It's one of my favorite icons in our software. Which of these is not a service ProPresenter works with? Resi, Song Select, Netflix, or Multitracks? As much as I think everybody would like to show Stranger Things in church, Netflix is not the correct answer. And 93% of you got it right. Ryan Q. Where's Ryan? Ryan, we'll see if you can keep up your lead. It's a tight race. According to analytics, how likely is it that ProPresenter is going to crash when you open it? You laugh. Less than 1%, 2%, 10%, or 5%. Oh, that hurts. That hurts. Well, you're not getting a prize. I'm just saying you might make me feel bad, but you're not going to get a prize for it. What is, or how is transparency shown on a ProPresenter slide in the editor? Is it a checkerboard pattern, a paisley pattern, a diamond pattern, or a gingham pattern? As I'm making this question, I thought, hey, we could really change this up. I don't think I've ever seen paisley on a background. That'd look cool. Or gingham. Well, gingham's kind of... Checkerboard is correct. 5% of you want a paisley pattern. We'll make a note of that. What social media sites did ProPresenter formerly integrate with? Was it Facebook and Threads, Instagram and Twitter, TikTok and Snapchat, MySpace and Parler? We had to get rid of this functionality when they shut it all down. Kevin, you're still in the lead. Wow, pretty good spread there. But we used to integrate with Instagram and Twitter. No longer do. Steven takes the lead, going for that prize that hasn't been defined yet. What is the file format for ProPresenter presentations? .pro, .key, .pptx, or .pdf? What is it, 68%, 69% say .pro? That is the correct answer. How many visible layers are there in ProPresenter? This is a tricky question. 4, 5, 7, or 6? It randomizes the answers, so I realize that's a little weird for the numbers not to be in order. How many visible layers are there in ProPresenter? 4, 5, 6, 7. Stephen, do you know the answer to this question? Oh, wow, look at that spread. The correct answer is 7. I know. Think of the functionality. In what year was ProPresenter 7 released? ProPresenter 7, it's what all of our current iterations are built on. Was it 2020, 2021, 2022, or 2019? This will tell how long everybody's been using ProPresenter. '22 gets the most votes, but the correct answer is 2020. Very uneventful year, 2020. According to CCLI, what is the most reported worship song? Is it Gratitude, Firm Foundation, Holy Forever, or Goodness of God? Right now, what is the most sung song in American churches that report to CCLI? The answer is Holy Forever. Anybody sing that this past Sunday? A few of you. I love Firm Foundation. It's a great song. Which of these is not a view mode for slides in Show View? Grid View, Easy View, Media View, or Table View? Ryan is back on top. I know this is a deep question. These are deep cuts. The correct answer is media view. We do not have a media view in the show view. That's like in a media bin. I get it. It's kind of a tricky question. How many support tickets did Renewed Vision solve in 2024? 32,844, 51,322, 12, whatever number these are.
I have the answer.
You do. One person in this room is responsible for a quarter of these. No, I'm kidding. The correct answer is 82,242.
In fact, it's a lot more this year.
A whole lot more this year. Not for the reasons. Which of these protocols does ProPresenter not work with? DMX, MIDI, SNMP, or VDCP? Everybody love acronyms in production and in technical work. God, I love the acronyms. Ah, 46% said SNMP. That is the correct answer. How many feature version upgrades has Renewed Vision had since 2020? 14, 17, 19, 22. These are feature releases, not dot maintenance releases, but actual feature releases. In the last 5 years, almost 6 years. That's a good spread there, but we have had 22 different feature releases since 2020, including the most recent beta. Which of these is not a Renewed Vision product? Pro Pickleball, Pro Scoreboard, Pro Video Player, Pro Presenter. And I should say yet, because I'm on a campaign to make this one happen. Who would run Pro Pickleball? I mean, absolutely. There needs to be an app for that. What OS was ProPresenter first developed on? Windows, Linux, Mac OS, or Amiga? Again, a deep cut. Long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, ProPresenter was first developed. Three 3% of you said Amiga, but the correct answer is Mac OS. Ryan, you're running away with it. Boy, this is crazy. What does NDI stand for in the context of video? New data integration, new display interface, network digital input, network device interface. These are nerdy questions. Half of you are probably saying, NDI, what is NDI? That's okay. It is a network device interface. Wow, the majority of you got it right. Very good. Winding it up, this might be the last question. What is ProPresenter's feature that allows you to edit slides while in presentation view? Is it called On the Fly, Quick Edit, Live Edit, Real-Time Adjustment? It's one of the most beloved features of our software. What is that feature called that allows you to edit slides while in presentation view? The majority gets it right. The answer is Quick Edit. Excellent. Let's see if we can squeeze in another question. 7, 6. Where is the headquarters of Renewed Vision? Is it in Texas, Georgia, Tennessee, or North Carolina? And it's not going to let me show the answers. And time's up, and Ryan Q is our winner. Congratulations. Ryan, where are you, Ryan? Yeah, Ryan, right there. Matthew, see us afterwards. We have a prize for you. Well, we don't have a prize here, but with that, well, Michael, you want to take it away?
Absolutely. Well, welcome, everyone. It's a lot brighter up here than I anticipated when I stepped up here. But we are so glad to have so many of you in the room, so many that I'm a little out of breath because I spent the last 5 minutes putting out more chairs. So forgive me for that. But before we get started with the portion of this event that's more about ProPresenter and production and all of that, I just want to take a second to have a little bit of a welcome time and introduce you to the people that are here today. So the man that was just on the stage you met was Brad Weston. Brad is our CEO at Renewed Vision and obviously has been with the company the longest. but also with the company a long time, is Mr. Justin, standing back there by the door. Justin is with us today, also from Atlanta. Fun fact, Brad said we are headquartered in Georgia, but we actually have employees in many of the United States all over. I'm actually in Nevada myself, but Justin is also in Atlanta. He's our director of development. Matthew Weeks is also here. He's out front. He was helping you register. He is our senior sales support agent. So he works on my support team as our senior sales support agent. And Tanner, who also checked you guys in, is one of our marketing associates. And then least importantly, my name is Michael Seal. I'm the director of customer support for Renewed Vision. So there are probably many of you in here who have gotten an email from me at some point in the last 6 years, as I have been in that role. And it is my honor to be in that role. I love that. Love getting to interact with each and every one of you every day, and answering those 82,000. I did all that by myself, obviously, but my team answering that 82,000 tickets last year. Just a little peek behind the scenes, we're on pace for about 110,000 tickets in 2025. So we're just seeing year over year growth. And that's not because the software is getting more buggy. That's because we are getting more and more customers in it, and we have more and more things going on in the software. And so we're super excited about the product. Also, just want to take a second to thank the Chris's, who I can't really see, but one Chris is at the soundboard, the other's back there at the computer. They are with the Ridge Church, who's been gracious enough to host us here in Charlotte today. So let's just give it up for the Ridge Church. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of a survey, and I can't see very well, so I'm going to step a little bit to this side. Oh, there we go. I can see better from over here. Raise your hand if you are with a church. Okay, we should have done this the other way. Anybody in here not with a church? Yes. And I can't get to you because we're so crowded. With a university. We are in a lot of universities throughout the country. That's a space that we are getting in more and more. We're also in school districts across the country. They are using us for a lot of neat things that I'm not going to talk about because I don't know our presentation. But we do have a lot of people that use us in a non-church environment. Obviously, this room, I think we can easily say, is over 99% the church market, but there are a lot of customers out there who are using our software for different things. Now, I was supposed to be able to wander around to do this, but you're just going to have to shout it out. Raise your hand if you drove less than 30 minutes to get here today. I'm glad, Chris. I'm glad you did. Okay, just a few. Raise your hand if you drove more than 30 minutes. Okay, more than an hour. More than an hour and a half. More than 2 hours. Wow, committed. More than 2.5. More than 3. I got this table finally. More than 4. Okay, so between 3.5 and 4 hours. Does anybody still have their hands up? I can't see. No. Okay, back there. Where are you guys from? Wilmington, North Carolina. So how long did it take you guys to get here? 3.5? All right, I saw some other here over here too, more than 3. Wilson, North Carolina. 3.5. Anybody more than 3.5? You flew here. From where? I also flew here, but from Baltimore. That's a long one. Anybody else from more than 3.5 hours away? I think I do win for this one, by the way. I flew from Las Vegas on a last-minute flight. So where were you from, sir? Sunset Beach. How far is that? Just over 3.5. And then also shout out to the rest of the team that drove up from Atlanta this morning. They also drove 3.5 hours to get here today, because I don't know if you guys know, but the airports right now are a little crazy. Part of the reason that there's only 100 notebooks on the table right now is our marketing director got held in Houston this morning. He was supposed to be here, bring some extra stuff with him. But he got held in Houston this morning because his flight got delayed 6 hours, and that wasn't really going to do us any good because he was going to get here when it was over. So it's a little crazy, but we are so excited. Have you guys from so far the very first Backstage Pass, which I've just blanked on where it was. But the very first Backstage Pass, we had someone drive from California. And this was definitely not in like Arizona. This was on the East Coast. And we had somebody come, I guess they flew. They didn't drive. I don't give them that much credit. They flew from California to do that. And so that showed us the need for this event. And that showed us the need for making this event go in different places all over the country. Just last week, we were in Denver, Colorado doing this event, and we were able to do our first one in the western half of the United States. And it's just been really important for us to do these events. So now I want to do, while we're getting to know each other, this is always a fun one. I want to know who's worked at a church. Let's start with your current church. Who has been at their current church for more than 5 years? Okay, more than 10 years. More than 15 years. More than 20 years. All right, I got 2 hands up, I think. Do I have any? Oh, the middle. See, this is the problem. The lights are on me. I can't see you. Okay, then we're going to go more than 25 years. Okay, I got 2 up here, 1 over there. Okay, let's start over here. And forgive me. Keep your hands where I can see them, I guess, or best I can see them. How long have you guys been at your current church? 39 years. Wow. That's impressive. All right, and now you're going to have to say it, but it's not 39, I take it, because you're shaking your head. 26 years. See, I almost got you. 1 more and I would have gotten. No, I'm just kidding. That's awesome, too. 26 years, 39 years. These are anybody over 25 years. This is crazy. 35 years up here. That's crazy. 26. How about back here? Wow. 76. Wow. You don't even look like you could have been somewhere 76 years. You're welcome. 40 years up here. Anybody else that I'm missing? Sorry, I'm kind of blind. Yes. 43 years. Wow, that's amazing. Let's just give it up for all of those. We all know that serving in the local church can take a toll on you. And we know that these 43, 39, 76 years come at a toll, at a price. And so I just want to hear you to hear it from me, who also serves in the local church. Man, I appreciate all of those years that you have poured into your local church, and just so excited to have you guys with us today. Now, here's an easy one. Who in the room is a Mac user with ProPresenter? Mac. All right, how about Windows? I heard I wish. All right, and who has a church that uses both? There's a few. So here's what I want you to learn from this. Brad said it a minute ago when he did trivia. ProPresenter was originally built on what? Not whatever those other weird ones he wrote was. But it was originally built on Mac, but we built it for Windows years later. And when we released Pro 7 in 2020, we rebuilt ProPresenter from the ground up on Windows, and that has continued on since then. We're actually seeing, Justin, what percentage is actually on Mac now? You don't know. Okay. It's ever changing is what I'll say, but it's a lot closer to split down the middle than you would think it was. I think we were surprised the last time we looked at that number. So there's a lot of Windows users out there, a lot of Mac users of ProPresenter. Now, the goals for this event. We heard some people on the way in say, what time does the training start? Well, primarily, let me just tell you, today is not about training. We have a lot of stuff out there for training the product. We're actually right now getting ready to release a lot of new videos on the product for you guys. There's a lot of them ready to go out. And so that training is going to be incredible, and we're excited about that. But our goals for today are to get to know you. We want to hear from our customers. We want to learn more about how your churches are using our software. What features are useful to you? What features maybe aren't so useful to you? What's your experience like with our team? We want to get to know you and your experience at your church and learn a lot more about you. But I would say one of the most important things about today is for you to get to know each other. Now, we did just see that a lot of people drove from a long distance today to be here, or flew from Baltimore to be here. But our goal today is for you to get to know each other as well. I want to challenge everybody here today to leave here with at least one phone number that you didn't already have in your phone. And here's why. We know, especially in the production space in churches, that it can be an isolating experience. Everybody agree with that? It can feel isolating. Just in the simplest form, you're sitting back there at the soundboard or at the computer like the Chris's are right now, and the only time people look at you is when what? Something's wrong, and they look back at you. Maybe even the pastor calls it out from stage. It's usually his fault anyway. But that's the only time that people look at you, and that can feel isolating. And I want you to hear that I know that too. I have served in the local church for about 15 years. I'm originally from Mobile, Alabama. You still hear a little bit of the South in my voice. But I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. I've helped plant 2 churches in Las Vegas. They say they don't hear the South in my voice anymore. Or actually, sorry, they say they only hear the South in my voice because they're not used to it. My wife's from Las Vegas, and she loves to make fun of me for my Southern accent. But I have been in the church and understand how isolating it can be. I have been extremely fortunate since I got to Las Vegas to be connected with some great guys that are in production in some larger churches, but also some church plants around the city. And I see them at least once a month. And we're able to exchange kind of what's going on, what's working well for you, what's not working well for you, what's going well for me, not going well for me, any tips and tricks we can have for each other, but really just a place to just a safe space for us to talk about what it's like to be in production and encourage one another. And so I want that for all of you as well. Maybe you already have it. I heard some people, I saw somebody say hello to somebody else when they walked in and said, oh my gosh, small world. And so I know there's already a little bit of that here, but I hope today that you leave here with even more of that. We also, this is probably why many of you came. We also want to share some things with you. Now, they're a secret. I'm just kidding. They are a secret, but we want to be upfront with you guys and share some things that are coming down the road, either soon or maybe even further in the distance. But we want to share those things with feedback from you on what you would like to see with those things. We do want to get your input on those. And again, this isn't the primary goal today is not to train you on ProPresenter, but instead to engage with you, to get to know you as a customer better, get to know you as a person together, and for you to get to know each other and have connections in your area to call up and talk to. Maybe you have a question about like, how would I implement this in my church? And maybe it doesn't have to do with a specific product, so you can't really call us about it, or you can't really call our friends at Multitracks about it. And we have a friend in the room today from Multitracks. Can't really call them about it, but it's good to call somebody else that maybe has done it and get some advice on those things. So what to expect today? We are going to be having 2 sessions in just a minute led by Brad. I'm going to bring Brad back up. He's going to talk a little bit about the history of Renewed Vision and ProPresenter. He's going to talk about all of that, and then we're going to lead to myself and Justin joining him on stage for production tips. And so we're going to run through some tips, and Justin and I have some stories to go along with those, just to kind of give you some insight from our many years of production experience in both big and small churches. And then we're going to have a few minutes for snacks and drinks and discussion around the table. And then Brad's going to talk through some cool things that we've seen people do with our product, things we're thinking about, and get your input on that. And then we're going to close today with a Q&A session at the end, facilitated by Brad, Justin, and myself, just answering whatever questions you might have about our product, production, anything we've heard today. So that's what we have to come in now. Before, as Brad starts to make his way back up to the front, because I don't see him, so here he comes. But as he starts to make his way back up to the front, let me just say a couple of things. The bathrooms, I would say, are out this door, but many of you can't get to that door. So they're out this door around the corner to the right. And then as you go out there, also grab some snacks and drinks as we go. So now make it really loud because he's my boss. And welcome back to the stage, Brad Weston.
Thank you, Michael. He mentioned, y'all, we're so glad to be here. And this is like one of the biggest crowds that we've ever had to do this. So thank you for making the time to do this. We don't do a lot of trade shows anymore. COVID kind of shut down our desire to do that, and we realized that we can connect with people a lot better in this kind of environment where we can interact with you and go into more long-form discussions than we typically can at a trade show or event like that. But boy, was the devil against us in making this one. The president of our company, Jonathan is his name. He was supposed to be hosting, so Michael stepped in at the last minute because Jonathan's son went to the hospital. And then Colton, who's our marketing director, he got delayed by a plane that wasn't going to be here until right about now. So we said, all right, just take a break. So I apologize that we don't have notebooks for everybody. I apologize that we don't have stickers for everybody and all the swag that you might want. But if you're not using your notebook, and somebody might want that, so just leave it on the table at the end. But again, very glad that you're here. I am a volunteer of my local church. Anybody else? Volunteers. Who did he ask that question? Volunteers versus working in a church? Lots of volunteers. I've been volunteering for my local church since I was 13. So yeah, well, not continuously, but running sound, a little 8-channel sound mixer. I was fantastic. But at my own church, North Point Community Church, which is in Alpharetta, Georgia, I started volunteering in 1998, and I was a video director for 18 years. And then stepped away from that and decided I wanted to do something that was more relational. So I've been, for 9 years now, I've been leading a small group of middle schoolers. So I have middle school boys from 6th, 7th, and 8th, and I'm on my 3rd turn of that. So I have 8th graders that are going to be graduating. I don't know whether they're going to start over again or whatnot, but it's just a blessing to be able to serve in that capacity. And again, glad to be here with you to share some things. So I want to start with a brief history of the company. So for the next 3 hours or so, I just want to tell you a little bit about the history of... No, I'll try and be brief, and you'll find that I actually talk very, very quickly. I get chastised for that all the time by the company. So Renewed Vision didn't actually start at this time, but the quick story of Renewed Vision is back in 1999, there was an event called One Day. It was outside of Memphis, Tennessee. One Day was an event put on by Passion Conferences. Passion Conferences was a collegiate ministry. Anybody in 1999 have this album called Better Is One Day? It was a huge success, and it blew up the Christian recording industry, and that then led to this vision to create this event that all these college students would come to this big field outside of Memphis, Tennessee. And that event was called One Day. To raise awareness for this, they had a worship band that would travel around to different colleges and sing and have worship services every night. And they wanted the ability, when they're doing that, to show a vision video for what One Day was all about, to be able to mix up the worship sets and whatnot. And so my background, I was working with the company that was doing the registration for that event. And they knew that I had a background in multimedia. So multimedia was back in the day when we had CD-ROMs. Is anybody old enough to remember when you had CD-ROMs? Anyway, they knew that I had done that. I said, hey, can we just have these 12 songs, and we want to be able to mix it up and not sing the chorus 15 times if the Spirit leads us or whatever. They wanted to have very Spirit-led worship environments. So they asked if I could create something to do that. And so I did. It didn't have an editor of any kind. It had 12 songs. And I sent them on their way in this tour bus, showed them on a laptop what that looked like. And this is up here, the original. This is the only picture I have of that original interface of what would become ProPresenter. But what you don't see, well, next picture, if I look up from that laptop, is this giant screen. This is at One Day 2000, middle of summer. I don't remember exactly what month. I think it was in May. In 2000, I was controlling from my little laptop. I was controlling this gigantic LED screen that was then being shown to these 40,000 college students. And I tell you, there is not a rush quite like controlling and leading worship for 40,000 college students from a little bitty laptop sitting in front of a stage in the middle of a field in Memphis, Tennessee. Well, as I said, I was on the production team at North Point Community Church. They saw what I was doing with ProPresenter. And by the way, they went from 12 songs to 15 songs to 20 songs on their little tour. Every week they were saying, hey, can you add these songs? I was like, finally, all right, let me make you an editor or whatnot. So North Point saw what I was doing. And so for the next 5 years, I developed this software called ProPresenter. Renewed Vision debuted actually 2 weeks ago. Tomorrow is our 25-year anniversary of opening the doors to Renewed Vision. So it's been quite the journey. So launched and made it available to other churches as I was developing it for North Point. This is one of the original logos and some of the cool features that still persist inside the software, like Easy View and Quick Cues and well, we don't have Quick Cues anymore. But anyway, and it was great. You could change words to lyrics on a song and do things on the fly without having to exit out to the desktop and do those things that PowerPoint and Keynote. Well, there was no Keynote at the time, so it was kind of a very different experience. And that is one of our the first user interface that was a more modern user interface of ProPresenter. So I did that on the side for 5 years, and then in 2005 made it a full-time endeavor. Took a couple of former employees and made them my partners, and we worked out of my basement. There's my partner, Matt, on a hugely messy desk. And there I am in a completely different life. There's Rich. He's much cleaner. And we set out to do something that ProPresenter couldn't do, which was to smoothly dissolve video from one to another, right? At this time, Passion Conferences was going around and doing these different events, and they would have this stack of videotapes that they would put in one and another, and it would have video loops, and they would use a video switcher to switch between them. So it was very cumbersome to actually switch between video. I could play back video, but it would just be a hard cut. So we set out to do that, and the first product we did that with was a product called PVP, stood for Pro Video Player. That's the original interface for that, and it actually allowed you to virtually dissolve between video clips, and it was amazing. I know, we take it for granted now. So we showed that at a trade show as we were kind of launching the company as a new thing. And at that trade show was this guy that was cousins with a marketing director at Gulfstream Aerospace. And so we get a call the next week from Gulfstream Aerospace saying, hey, we'd like in our trade show booth to do a video across all these different screens. So we said, okay, we can do that. And so we networked a number of these different PVP machines. And so the very first application of our Pro Video Player product was for a Fortune 500 company, which was really, really cool. So it was born out of the church, became used by corporations in a more secular environment, which is a very, very different thing. Anybody go to trade shows like NAB, Infocom, any of these trade shows? If you do, what happens is you'll walk into these booths and you have your badge and you kind of want to hide the badge because it says whatever, First Baptist Church, etc. And the reason that you hide it is because they don't take you seriously, or at least that's the perception that you get. Instead, the lead of sales will say, oh, it's so nice to, oh, okay, First Baptist Church. Here's John. We hired him 2 weeks ago. He knows nothing about our products, but I'm going to pawn you off to him because you don't have a budget, you don't have anything. Well, at this time in 2000, 2005, churches were really getting on board with using technology. And so we were blessed to be a part of that and to develop technology specifically for the church that kind of turned the funnel upside down. Instead of having this trickle down of technologies coming into the church, we made the church the heart of creativity by developing for the church first, which then got the eye of different companies. So we did trade shows for Gulfstream Aerospace. This is a trade show or a conference that we did for Federated Department Stores. This is one of my favorite projects. This is the Children's Hospital. It's an automated video wall. So Rich hits the button on the lower right, and it caused this animation for kids that are in this children's hospital that are, going through just very tragic things. It was great. I would actually go there on evenings and just sit on the couches to watch these kids interact with this video wall that we created. So that was our PVP product. North Point grew into satellite campuses. They had a lot of satellite campuses, and one of the things that they did that was very unique for satellite campuses is we would take a high-definition shot of the stage and play that high-definition shot virtually on a secondary location, at a secondary location, to give you the illusion that there actually was a 6-foot-tall speaker on the stage walking around and whatnot. And oftentimes we would get the question, how do you create that hologram? So it was, in fact, successful. The way that we did that was with a product that we originally called Pro Video Sync. This is a interface for that. So we'd created ProPresenter, Pro Video Player, Pro Video Sync, and then in 2006, we created ProPresenter 3. ProPresenter 3 allowed us at last to do the cross dissolve between backgrounds over words, and that's the original interface for that. From that, we grew into other churches and whatnot, and then had several different tours. This is Chris Tomlin's Indescribable Tour, running that version, ProPresenter 3. We'd use it in different church events and combined with our PVP software. So it was allowing us to do what a lot of big productions and stage tours or whatnot were doing, but with a whole lot less money because these are sub $1,000 products. We continued to develop ProPresenter, added the ability to edit slides the way you would with a PowerPoint slide with different objects or whatnot, added a stage display function that has become kind of a mainstay with all churches so that you can keep the worship leader on task to hopefully sing what the next words are. Sometimes. I know everybody's laughing for exactly the same reason. And by the way, I wanted to say this because Michael made the joke about what happens when the worship leader makes a mistake. The eyes come on you. No, they don't. I'm in a back room, right? I'm in the video room, right? The sound guy is who gets the eyes, and he's like, I don't do anything with the slides. It's just kind of funny. It's a pleasure to be in video production. We made a remote control for the iPad and iPhone and continued to work large events. This is one for Chick-fil-A. I'll talk about that for a little bit because we've had a great relationship with them as well as other clients that are in the Atlanta area. We then set out and got this request, hey, can you do scoreboards, right? Well, scoreboards are basically when you're talking about an LED screen, you're putting words and videos and graphics on a screen. So we created a scoreboard product. We now call it Pro Scoreboard. Originally and used at this, made in 2014, used in small colleges and high schools. We're actually on the largest LED scoreboards throughout the country. And then we're involved with a lot of other big events, some of the biggest productions in the world. This is the NFL Draft in 2018. Here's an event from Delta Airlines, just using a combination of our different products. As Michael said, we're also in use in a lot of different school productions. So school news that's done by students, student-led news school, student-led news productions. Gwinnett County Schools, every one of their schools has these video productions for their news programs that are based on ProPresenter doing all the graphics. So a privilege to be a part of that. So we have these 4 products: ProPresenter, PVP, which I talked a little about, and then our scoreboard product. We're doing great things in 2019. Here's the NFL draft in 2019. All of those screens are running our PVP product. We're doing great things. Everything is going great. And then 2020 happens. Does anybody know what happened in 2020? Anybody? It was in trivia. We released ProPresenter 7 in 2020. It was very exciting. Everybody was talking about it throughout the world. It's a great time. Let me tell you, January 20th, 2020, we released ProPresenter 7. What a brilliant year to release not only the new software, but a new method of doing things with ProPresenter Plus and whatever. So it actually was, because in the midst of 2020, or when we released ProPresenter 7, we also did it with the promise that we were going to do regular updates to the software. I just said that we had 22 different feature updates to the software. The reason we were able to do that is because we changed our business model to allow you to subscribe to continually get updates and whatnot. And by doing that, it allowed us to do more frequent maintenance updates, as well as to add new features to the software and make it more economical. And we've added a tremendous number of those features, including 6 months after that January release, we were releasing software, or releasing versions of ProPresenter that allowed you to do live streaming, because there was it was doing live streaming in 2020 and said, like, the churches are shut down, but we got to do live streaming. Yeah, so we released a lot of different services for that. I never want to go through that year again. I don't know about you, but it was a brand new interface. And again, we've done a lot of different updates. This is just our features page that I was just capturing a screen grab of all the different features that we've added to that. We also added the Pro Content. If you're not familiar with Pro Content, we have at this point, I think we have over 9,000 different video clips and templates and whatnot that are all available within ProPresenter. So that is our product offerings now, and that brings us to present day. So what does the company look like today? Well, we have 75 plus people. At this point, I think we have 80. We're innovating faster than ever. We exist in 16 different states and 9 different countries across the world. That is our team from this past May. We had a team get together in Atlanta and played pickleball. Hence, we want to create Pro Pickleball, right? That is not a pre-release announcement of the software. ProPresenter is in use in 202 different countries, provinces, and territories throughout. Ones that are black are the ones that we do not yet exist in. However, we're doing a big marketing push in North Korea right now to get ProPresenter in all the churches in North Korea. If anybody knows some contacts, we'd appreciate that. To that end, I want to talk about, and why we exist, is why production in the church matters. And I'm going to throw some scripture out at you. A word of the church. This shouldn't surprise you. 1 Corinthians 9:19 through 23. Though I am free and belong to no one, I have made myself a slave to everyone to win as many as possible. I become all things to all people, so that by all possible means I might save some. I do all this for the sake of the gospel, that I might share in its blessings. So we create software because there's a lot of ways to spread the gospel. There's a lot of people to connect people with Jesus, or a lot of ways to connect people to Jesus. We endeavor tools that help that, and that's what we exist as a company to do, and that's why we exist. So with that, some interesting information, right? Organizations by size. So we go from yellow to red. The more yellow it is, the smaller the church. So the bright yellow in the upper right, it's a circle, so I don't know there's corners of the circle, but upper right, 38% of our users have less than 100 members in their audience or congregation. The orange, the big 45%, is 100 to 500. So that to put that in perspective, that is 80%. Sorry, let me do math real. 83% of our users are running ProPresenter in organizations that are 500 people or less. So we get asked this all the time, because it seems like all the different features that we add to the software are meant for the large churches. Oh, you only cater to mega churches. That's not the case, right? Our endeavor is to create functionality and features in the software that allow you to do more with less. That is the heart of what we do, right? We want to add capabilities in the software that keep you from having to purchase additional equipment or to get 5 more volunteers, which I know is a big, hard thing to do when you're in a small church. So that is the reason that we continue to add functionality into our software, is to give you more leverage to do more with less. So other interesting stats. 60% of users have 2 or more screens. Let's raise hands. Do you have 2 or more screens coming out of ProPresenter? Okay, not quite 60%, but 40% of users have 4 or more screens. Anybody have 4 or more screens? This was shocking to us. Wow. That's fantastic. We will have. Okay, that's good. 25% of screens are configured with NDI. Roughly 6% are SDI. Does anybody not know what those acronyms mean? It doesn't really matter. So just interesting statistics. 52% of users have 2 or more timers. If you're not using timers, well, we like to use timers, particularly so that the pastor doesn't run long and we can get out in time for lunch. 41% of development time in 2025 has been spent on improving existing user experience. 10% of that time is on user-reported tickets. Now, what does that mean? 10% is when you have a crash or some issue, or you send support an issue of something that's not working properly, 10% of our time is spent on that as far as this goes. 41%, that is to say 41 minus the 10, is stuff that you don't even know about. When we ask for you to provide analytics to us, we're constantly looking at those analytics so we can put a proportionate amount of care into those things that people are using more and more and more. So it's very, very helpful for you to provide us with that analytic information. Now, so we can provide new versions. Speaking of new versions, just again, this is perhaps interesting information. I think it's interesting. This is showing the various versions of the software that are currently in use. The big orange piece of the pie right there is version 20. Version 20 plus, which is to say 20.0.1, whatever. So the biggest users of our software are using the latest version. Version 21 is at the very top. That was in beta this past week. And what you'll see here is that the vast majority, over 90%, I think, I'm not going to do the math here, is using software that's less than a year old. So that's great because it enables us to continue to develop for the future. And believe it or not, technology is changing very, very quickly. It is a big deal for us the reason that we went to this sort of model and went like everybody else did to subscription so we can do these other updates and whatnot is because Apple is coming out with new operating systems all the time. Did you notice this? Windows all the time. And things are breaking all the time, not just for our stuff. It's impossible for us to make software for 5 versions of an operating system. Can you appreciate that? So we elect to continue to innovate as all these other companies are innovating and coming out with new hardware and whatnot. So that is the history and some hopefully interesting statistics that I hope that you have found interesting. Can I say interesting more? With that, I'm going to invite Justin and Michael up on the stage, and we're going to go over some hopefully production tips that we've kind of learned along the way. This is proven we did this event last week in Denver, Colorado, and this was one of the highlights that we got the feedback on. So our objective here is just to kind of pour over. Now, Michael has been a part of churches for a long time. He's been a part of churches that have been established. He's also been a charge. Any of your churches load in churches on Sunday and you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and take the U-Haul in, hopefully a few, maybe? It's a great time, isn't it? Yeah.
I don't recommend it.
It is a season.
I have some scars, literal scars from it. So.
And then Justin has also been how long have you been volunteering at churches?
Oh gosh.
Were you
Since I was probably 7 or 8.
Yeah. And you're a sound guy and you didn't even have the microphone on. That was amazing.
It's fair.
So typically what I look for when we're doing these different production tips, and the feedback that you're going to give me, I'm going to say something, and I'm looking around the room, and I'm looking for the heads and go, yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh, I want to hear an amen or whatever. So if this resonates, if any of these resonate, we'll share some personal anecdotes. But first one, and these are just general production tips. This is not necessarily for ProPresenter, but always emphasize quality over quantity, right? Quality over quantity. There's so many times we've been doing this for a long time. 25 years ago, North Point was very famous. Oh my gosh, you have a mega church. You have 2,500 people in the auditorium. You have 2 screens. So all these smaller churches wanted to be just like North Point. So you have a small venue like this, and they want to put in 2 screens. I'm like, why do you want to put in 2 screens? Now, I say that. We're in a very small room, and we have 3 screens. But they use these in a more creative way. And when you have this beauty of this intimacy that's established in a small church. So as to say, if you're getting involved with church production, the last thing you want to do is to add video switchers and cameras, right? The first thing you do is start with just words. It could be on a black background. You can then subscribe to Pro Content. That's a plug. Or do different video backgrounds or whatnot and make it pretty. Just do everything that you're doing with quality over quantity. Yes.
Yeah. So what I would say there is find out what's most important to whoever's in charge, right? So like whatever is the most important thing to your pastor. If that's the sermon slides looking spectacular, if that's the motion graphics being great, just get some feedback on what is the most important thing to you, and then really scale up that side of it and like make that look the best. For us, one of the most important things to us at our church is that our graphics look professional. The problem with that is we don't have a graphic designer on staff. The person doing the graphic design on the staff is me, and that I promise. So lucky for me, we have, just as he said, shameless plug, we have a great product called Pro Content that allows me to do that. So I'm able to make our church look more professional and like we have a designer on staff without us actually having to do it. But that really emphasizes the quality over, we don't have, a stream. We don't stream because nobody would watch it, right? So we don't have the quantity of different things of production. We just really make what we do have high quality.
Second tip, this is really for Pro Presenter. I cannot emphasize this enough. Lead the worship leader, right? Train your volunteers so that they are never willing to go to the next slide. 3 or 4 words at the end. People have the capacity in the brain to remember the last 3 or 4 words of a slide. You just don't want to leave them hanging when they're the words. But the other thing is that you have to lead the worship leader, because we know that worship leaders just don't bother to actually memorize the words to the songs anymore.
Even if you go the wrong direction.
Yeah, you have a good story for this, don't you?
Yeah, it's probably appropriate for this time of year. So we're coming up on Christmas, right? And all of the Christmas songs, oh man, 5, 6, 7 verses. So right before we started on Christmas Eve gathering, the worship leader comes back to me. He's like, all right, I'm gonna do verse.
Oh, the worship leader. Who was the worship leader?
The guy who wrote Holy Forever and a few other songs.
So Chris Tomlin is his worship leader.
And he's a great guy, but also very quiet. He comes back. I'm in front of the computer. And he's like, all right, this one we're going to do not what we rehearsed. It's going to be 1, and then verse 3, then like verse 4, and then we're going to go back to 2. Cool. Got you. Go through it. We're singing. And then at the end of verse 1, they do the little interlude. And then the producer comes on comms like, all right, ready, verse 2. And so just without thinking, I hit instinctually the hotkey. I'm like, all right, our hotkeys were like ZX across the bottom. So I just hit the second hotkey. We go. And his eyes.
So you're showing verse 2.
So I go verse 2 because that's what producer told me. It's my story. The rest of the worship team also went verse 2. And Chris goes verse 3 and immediately looks at me. And now this is a fairly large auditorium, but he was closer than him to me right now. Eyes hit me like daggers. And I was like, sorry, bro. And we finished verse 2.
So yeah, it's that's great because Chris actually does know the words to songs, but
and that leads to the next one, which is really important too.
Oh, very important. Rehearse. All right. And that doesn't mean that you have to rehearse as a group, although I highly recommend it. For years in production, I would get up and be at church at 6 a.m. I know, isn't that terrible? Nobody has to do that
every
Sunday,
Sunday.
I'm sure.
Every Sunday.
I know.
Every week.
So we would actually run through all the different songs, do all the different camera shots. Again, I'm video director by trade as far as the volunteer stuff, but that rehearsal was so great because that's the time that you can actually fine tune and train buyers and bring them up in their camera shots and how they're running. But we make Pro Presenter available for free for download. Does everybody know that? You can download the software for free, which is the reason that we do that is so that your volunteers can download it for free, get to know it, get to know their songs, rehearse their songs with the recordings or whatnot. We would actually do that. We would record at our church, we would record the Wednesday night rehearsals that the band would do. We would make those available as MP3s for the volunteers so that they could actually run through the lyrics that way. So yeah.
And the addition I will add to rehearse is that is a great time for you, specifically as we're talking about Pro Presenter, making fun of Justin a little bit, but that's a great time to make sure that the order of the song is checked out. right? We have arrangements in ProPresenter, and so it's really easy to just drag and drop stuff, get rid of stuff that they're not doing. My church is, we joked about it earlier, but we're set up and tear down. We get there at 7:00. Rehearsal starts at 8:30, and in that hour and a half, I've already dumped off about a gallon of sweat getting everything set up. So I'm too tired to worry about it. But my volunteers that get there do a great job, and we've trained them to like make sure that order's right, so that once we get to the service, there's no hiccups with that. And because the double side of that is lead your worship leader, like we said a second ago, and our worship leaders don't ever know the lyrics. So it definitely helps that our orders are set in rehearsal.
Next one, demand excellence. Give your team an opportunity to create something that they can be proud of. Now, Jonathan is not here, but he has a great story, so I'm going to do my best to tell that story. Jonathan has worked with Passion conferences for a long time, Passion City Church, etc. And so they've done conferences throughout the world. They went to Uganda. I think this was like in 2008, 2009. They had this massive event, 40,000 people in the middle of the field, slightly different demographic, but they were in this massive field, and they were there 3 or 4 days ahead of time. And there was a massive, what do we call it? You wouldn't call it a monsoon. You'd call it I don't know what you could, but a massive rainstorm that came through. And their LED wall like fell in the water. And so the stage crew, they have a local stage crew there in Uganda that came out, and they're trying to dry out all the different panels with hair dryers and whatnot. It's just utter, like a mud pit, is the field's just all muddy and whatnot. But they have all these different workers. They have all the stage lights. There's like 100 stage lights. I don't know what the number is, but 60 of them, a vast majority of them didn't work, right? They were broken from whatever the storm was or whatnot. And Ed White, who's this lighting professional that's been all over the world, he looks at it, he's like, I think I can repair these. And so he opens one up and he starts to repair. He's able to get it to work. And then the production guys are like, oh, that's really interesting. How do you do that? So he trains these guys, and they have this massive line of people that are then working on these lights and learning. He's teaching them how to do that. And then they get the LED wall working. They get all the lighting work. And in this what could have been an utter disaster turned into an incredible event. And afterwards, the production manager came up to Jonathan and said, thank you so much. And he said, oh, yeah, thank you. Well, you've been great and whatnot. No. You don't understand. You really pushed us, and we had no idea that we could accomplish what we were able to accomplish, right? They demanded excellence and set a bar for that and brought that team up, and they'll never be the same. That's what the production director said. And I've had that experience in my own church when we've kind of just hit for the fences. I love to pour my time. I could spend time decorating my house and doing other things that are just that I'm going to enjoy, but it's so much more gratifying when I can pour into the church and see the congregation enjoy that. That's how I like to spend my time. So if you demand excellence, it makes for great memories. So this next one, real creativity happens on a budget. Can I get an amen? Again, I volunteer for a church that has a pretty big budget with regards to video. And again, I said it, the heart of what we do as a company is to develop for the churches that don't have those budgets. It's to say, hey, what can we put into our software that's going to enable functionality that you would have to spend a lot of money elsewhere. So I think as far as technology goes, because there's, boy, if I knew 20 years ago that we'd be able to buy, get a 4K rig with all these different cameras for the pricing that you can get it, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of technology out there these days. As I've helped, like I said, I've been a part of 2 church plants in Los Angeles the last 6 years, and I help them with their production. And it's really fun because like nobody has a budget. Like there is no on a budget because there is no budget. So we're having to do it with literally as minimal as we can. But there's a lot of great technology out there that allows you to do that. A lot of great services out there that you can kind of bundle together and make things work. And you can look really top notch. You can look like North Point without having the budget of North Point or the manpower of that church or other churches in your town that are bigger. So I would say my advice to you as somebody that came from a really established big church budget to a church with no budget, it is possible to do great, really creative things with little to no budget. There's many stories out there that you can find online of that. And so I encourage you to just, keep at it. And you can come up with some really cool things.
Anybody have a problem with getting volunteers? Everybody always laughs. That's like whenever we talk about whether there's going to be a question later. I'm not going to spoil it, but so to that, I say sell the fun of production to the unchurched. It's a great way to disciple. And then I have to add the scripture, because you would love so much, we were delighted to share with you not only the gospel of God, but our lives as well. Hey, guess what? Your life exists inside the church too. It's a great way to invite people. This is the example that I give. We came from Atlanta. I used to give this. It doesn't work anymore because they're not based there. CNN used to be based in Atlanta, right? They've got some really, really cool, right? I couldn't just go down to CNN headquarters and say, I'd really like to get involved with video production. Could I volunteer on Sunday mornings? Right? I can't do that. But I was part of North Point. I can go to my friends that are just, they don't have to be believers. They can be met. I gave so many different tours in North Point's video control room. It's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Well, would you like to volunteer? We can teach you how to use this stuff. It's a lot of fun, right? So many different camera operators would come to church. They weren't saved. You don't have to be saved to run a camera. You have to be saved to be a worship leader. But it's a great way to disciple. Get your friends involved. That, hey, I know it's very uncomfortable to say, hey, we'd like to invite you to come and sit with us at church. Would you like to come on Sunday? It's a whole lot easier to say yes to, hey, we need some help running camera or radio switcher. Can I show you how that works if you have any interest? So that is a great way to recruit volunteers. So just saying.
Really interesting story. Kind of just picking up on that. I was running ProPresenter for a conference that was for worship leaders and church tech. And it was probably, 3,000 or 4,000 people there. And 3 nights, first night, this guy was in the back row, camera up, recording the whole thing, was into the production. But he was there for the production. It was kind of clear. He was recording the whole thing, completely tuned out for the rest of it. The third night, the guy had his hands up in the air and was completely engaged in the production. And at the end of it, the pastor was saying, wanted to give everybody an opportunity to be saved and just put the invitation out there. And this guy stood up. And I was just like, my mind was just blown, because I was sitting there watching this guy, same seat right in front of me, had eyes on him the whole time, and just to see the progression. So yeah, there's something too. Just being in the door is an opportunity.
Yeah, we've had a story recently. The lady that was running ProPresenter for me at my church plant, she had a nephew who has never been in church a day in his life, and he lives actually 45 minutes away from our church. But she invited him to come along, and we met the first week. He came with her to set up, and he and I just kind of talked and developed a little bit of a relationship. And I think he's missed one Sunday since then, and that was 6 months ago. And we're working on it. We're walking through the Bible kind of bit by bit together, and hopefully one day I get to tell that part of the story that Justin just told. But it's been amazing to watch him like really come. That's why he's there, and up to the point that like this Sunday I'm not going to be there. And I trust that he's going to run everything and run it well, because we brought him alongside and done all that. And now we're entrusting him. And I'm hoping that all of that leads to ultimately, like Brad said, it's a great way to disciple. And I'm sure there's people in here who has a story similar to that. Just raise your hand. I just want to see how many there are. There's a few of us in this room with those stories. And I would like to challenge, putting my pastor hat on for a second. Sorry. I would like to challenge, make that a goal in your ministry. Find somebody who doesn't know Jesus and bring them alongside you and disciple them. Or maybe they just came to know Jesus and you can bring them alongside of you, because great conversations happen in the production booth.
So yeah, these next slides are really about volunteers, and training volunteers well is very important. It's also important to feed them well. Amen. Frozen bagels do not work on Sunday mornings. They're not particularly inspiring. I'm sorry if I offended anybody. So we had these magnificent breakfasts that they would cater in from Waffle House. Yeah, Waffle House catering. It's fantastic. All the hash browns you can get. And so I go from that in production to I'm now serving as a student leader, a middle school student leader. So I get
Pizza.
Donuts.
Donuts, yeah, on Sunday morning.
On Sunday morning, it's donuts. I always give my donut. The first kid that comes, I always give him my donut. So that's my gift to ministry. But yeah, train your volunteers well. There's a variety of different. If you invest people, that means something to them. You're trying to make them better, training them well. It doesn't just happen on Sunday morning. Do it on a Wednesday night, Tuesday night, whatever time. Make special time to train people. And in fact, my church would create a whole curriculum for that. And there's plenty of such curriculum online as well that you can find. So we make those tutorials. Does anybody use our ProPresenter tutorials? Yeah, great. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later. Hopefully you find that helpful. we spend a lot of time at it, and we're going to be spending a whole lot more time at that. But training your volunteers, well, again, it just shows that you love them, that you appreciate what it is that they're doing, and you are demanding that level of excellence that we were talking about later. Another big one, and I will shout it from the rooftops: recruit the youth, buy them the tools, and set them loose. They will blow your mind. Who watches more videos on a daily basis in this country than any other demographic? Anybody in this room? Is anybody else spending 4 hours watching TikTok videos? Anybody? Oh my gosh, you raised your hand. It's kind of
you and my wife.
But again, I'm saying this because I was 13 and I got involved and I just dove in with both hands. It's an incredible thing. It gives us so much joy when we see these Facebook posts. By the way, everybody, if you're not on the official Facebook user group on Facebook, there's over 66,000 people that are sharing ideas and complaints sometimes. But that are sharing community there with regards to other ProPresenter users. But one of the greatest things that we get to see is all these different pictures of youth that are running our software. You know, oh, here's my 11-year-old, leading worship. And every one of them, they are intense. They're looking at the words and they're just following along because they take it seriously. And it's time that a lot of these youth are given the responsibility. You give them the ability to, hey, you are going to be responsible for the words that are shown on the screen for this entire congregation. They take that as a big responsibility. And oftentimes they've never had that experience before to be called up to that level. And inevitably, what I've found is that they do a much better job than the person that may have been running it before, that might be a little bit jaded from just doing it week after week after week. So yeah, recruit youth. Let them create videos. Again, they don't have access to these expensive video tools, whatnot. If you buy them the software or whatnot, just say, hey, go out and do this. And your first reaction to some of the stuff that they create is like, oh, that's different. But they probably have an eye for it more than you do. Second thing about loving your volunteers, or the third, whatever we are. Volunteers can be fired. Oh, there's some applause, some amens. It is true. Just because they're volunteering doesn't mean that they are gifted for the area that they're volunteering in, and they can be fired. We had this wonderful woman that I think she was from Ukraine, and she just had this beautiful smile, and she was there on time every Sunday running camera, and she could not run camera to save her life. She just did not have a sense of, and I tried to train her or whatnot, and ultimately we just freed her future. We just said, look, this is not. Is that rude? We didn't say you're fired, or anything. We just, yeah, you're freeing her because she knows that she struggles with this. She knows if she's not, okay, you were working an hour-long service and I took your camera shot twice. She knows. So we just say, look, there might be a different area, and there's lots of areas in production, or she might go serve in the children's environment. But yeah, again, people are called to excellence when you demand excellence, and that happens whether they're paid. Volunteering doesn't mean that you have to work with them. So that's just my 2 cents. You manage a lot of volunteers.
Yeah, they absolutely
harsh,
can be fired. No, I mean, we had a similar situation. The church I worked for full time before I came to Renewed Vision had a nice lady who was, a little bit older and was running audio. The problem with that was she couldn't hear me when I talked to her, like this close. And I realized that, like, she'd been running it for probably 15 years at that church. And so it was really hard for the situation for me to walk into. And the worship pastor was basically like, he was my boss. And he was like, hey, we're remodeling the sanctuary. We're getting the new soundboard. So I think it's probably a good time to let her go. And I was like, do it. And he was like, no, that's your job. And I was like, man, like, this is but we did it in a nice way. And like, it really freed her to go and like be more involved in her small group and really serve with the small group and do things like that. We still let her participate with us in, like, she came and ran sound during choir practice on Wednesday night. Like, she was a lot better equipped to handle that because I sat there and just was bored out of my mind. But she sat there and all her friends were in the choir. So she enjoyed it and loved it. So we went to that.
Quick interruptions are greater than long distractions, right? So if your pastor is up there and his microphone is popping in the first 2 minutes, don't let him go. What is it, 45 minutes, 35? I hope it's not more than 45 minutes.
I preach for 55.
Do you really?
Yeah. No.
You preach for 55 minutes? Wow.
55 would be short.
Yeah. Like, you know, it's going to be a distraction to take a handheld mic up to them or whatnot. But boy, that is so much better than just listening to pop, 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 pop. Right. So, any other examples of that?
But also, if they're going to be out there for the B,
That's true.
you're probably the only one that notices it.
Maybe.
Just Brad. No, I do agree with that. Especially, I would weigh those two things, right? Like, if it's the start of your worship set and the drum mic is like pointed up and out, and all it's doing is picking up the bounce back. Yeah, that's worth, like, you're going to mute it. And if you need that mic, like it's really making it sound bad, yeah, send somebody up there to do it. If the pastor's mic, you know, maybe he bumped it and then you didn't put it on him right, and now it's pointed out here, and you're like really gaining it up, but you haven't got anything. It's really a lot easier and a lot better to walk that mic out there, or even like go out there and just like fix it real quick. I've done that before, but it's way better than just like it being a distraction the whole sermon.
We had we did this event at North Point that's called Drive, and one of the openers. I mean, you do in a conference, then the opener is the big thing that everybody spends so much time on. And so we had this opener that involved time code that was powering this video and all the lighting and everything, and it involved a virtual orchestra. So there were some live musicians, but there was basically it was like on the screen we were showing silhouettes of these different orchestral players. So this guy would come out that would be the conductor, and he would actually conduct, and he had in-ears and whatnot. Well, huge room full of people, lights go down, guy comes out and starts conducting, and the audio was going, but the video was not good. There was some sort of a problem, right? Oh my gosh, the comm, you know what happens on your clear comms when they're this, what's going on? What's going on? No, the producer's like, okay, all right, let's just take it down. Let's just take it down. It's a super calm voice. Just take it down. Let's figure out what the problem is. You bring the lights back up. So it was a distraction. Absolutely. What happens when things happen in church that are unexpected? You know what happens with people when things that happen that are unexpected? They lean in like, oh my gosh, a distraction. I'm not going to fall asleep anymore. Oh, something happened. Oh, the lighting. Oh, somebody's in trouble. Your mind just goes, you know. So people tend to lean in. And some of my favorite moments, in fact, I'm going to be honest. We had the singles ministry. I didn't plan on talking about this, but we literally intentionally did a fire drill in the middle of the sermon, right? As a sermon illustration. I don't think we had to get the permission of the fire department to do that, but there was actually a cue for it. And yeah, and then everybody, like, they turned it off and said, okay.
Is this the Life Interrupted series?
I don't remember what it was.
I was really old.
It would be to that same instance though. Be calm. It'll be okay, right? I so appreciated that producer because he just had a calm voice. Okay, everybody, just shut it down. Let me know when you figured it out. So it wasn't, what's going on? What happened? What happened? Oh my gosh. You know, it's just calm voice. All right, figure it out. Because you trust your people, right? Trust your people that they know what they're doing. You know, just don't because stress doesn't help anybody. Be calm, it'll be okay. I've got a great story.
Yeah, and I would say in addition to being calm, while you're being calm, communicate that to everyone. So like Brad just mentioned, the producer said, okay, shut it down. Let me know when you've got it. Think about it in the sense of like, if something goes wrong and the people on stage need to know, you have to figure out a way to communicate with that. If it's the band, that's relatively easy. You should have a talk back in front of house where you're able to talk to the band and say, hey, lyrics are gone, so you're going to have to do a better job of like saying what's coming for people. We'll get it back in just a second. But you know, the LED processor crashed or whatever happened. The computer just shut down. That happens from time to time. But just communicate to them, hey, this is what's going on. We're working on this to fix it. But you're going to have to do this, and then make sure you communicate, hey, they're back up. You're good to go. But staying calm is the way. If you're up here, your volunteers are going to be up here. So if you're here and level, they're only going to jump to probably about right here. And they're going to look, oh, he or she's okay. I'm okay too.
So I think it was maybe, I don't know what year, 2010 or whatnot. Passion did this big conference. We've done it in the Georgia Dome. We've done it at Mercedes-Benz and whatnot. This year, that was in State Farm Arena, which is the big basketball arena that the Hawks play in. But we happen in Georgia, we have this, all of our major event facilities are all clustered really close together, far away from an interstate. So it makes no sense whatsoever. But so we have State Farm Arena where the Hawks play, and then we have the Georgia World Congress Center, which is a massive building that's right next to that. And then we have Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Anyway, this one year that Passion was taking place, they decided to do it in 2 different venues. So we rented out this giant hall, this trade show hall that was in Georgia World Congress Center, as well as Phillips Arena. And so the people, we had thousands, tens of thousands of people in the Georgia World Congress Center, and tens of thousands of people in State Farm Arena. And so for one of the sections of this, Chris Tomlin was going to be leading in State Farm Arena. Matt Redman was leading in the World Congress Center. But then, as a surprise, one part of the song they were singing, "Our God, our God, our God, our God is greater." Our God, everybody sing.
Keep going, Brad.
So Matt Redman and Chris Tomlin were going to be singing this in sync. They were all going to be running to the same click track. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So they're the drummers. Anyway. So they were going to be singing in sync, and at this one point, Lecrae was going to come out and do this rap. Anybody know who Lecrae is? He's a famous Christian rapper. So he was going to get out in the State Farm, and we were going to take the video feed over to the World Congress Center, right? So they rehearsed this. Everything works great, and these are professionals, consummate professionals. You got Chris Tomlin that's performed forever, and Matt Redman that's performed forever, and both of them know what they're doing and whatnot. Well, as they're running through the song, and like in the second verse, the producer, this is Jonathan telling the story, so I'll be Jonathan here. He's looking at the multi-screen, and he can see World Congress Center. He sees Matt Redman singing, and he's not singing the same words that Chris Tomlin is singing. He's seeing the words that are shown on the screen, and they're not the same words. So he gets on comm to Brian, who's over in the World Congress Center. Brian has been doing production for churches since the dawn of time. And says, I don't know what's going to happen, but Matt is off. Something is wrong. They're off, whatever. And so I don't know how we're going to deal with this. And Jonathan, producing, has his boss like, oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? He just sees this train crash happening because, they're going to put Lecrae on the screen. It's just going to be utter calamity, right? Well, then all of a sudden he looks at the screen and he sees that Matt Redman is right on task, and then the Lecrae part happens and everybody's in sync, and he's just like, oh my gosh, praise the Lord, there was a miracle that happened, right? So he asked Brian afterwards, he says, how did he get back in sync? And Brian said, well, I could see Chris singing, and so I had the talk back to Matt, and so I just got into Matt Redman's ears, I think he's Grammy Award winning artist. Yeah, that's what you do. And he could see what Chris was saying. All right, Matt, sing with me. And if our God is for us, then what could it just sing with me? If our God is, and all of a sudden, Matt Redman just says, well, somebody's talking in my ear. I better do what they tell me to do. And so he starts singing. The band and they get in sync right there. He couldn't do that if he had somebody doing down. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Right? This is what I do in the office, by the way.
That's why I didn't jump.
So yeah, be calm. It'll be okay. The calm minds save the day in productions. So, and finally, for all of you that work in churches, if you only stop working when the work stops, you will never stop working. Please, have a work-life balance. It's so important. You've got to be, first, you have to lead your families and lead in the home. Your job comes secondary to that, and God will honor you for those sacrifices that you make. Agreed?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that concludes the tips section. So Michael, I'm going to hand it over to you to get us to the yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, we're going to take just a few minutes here at your table. So what I want to challenge you with is we can take a minute. I know some people have gotten up. I know we're really crammed in here, so it may have to take some work to do this. But if you need to go to the bathroom, grab a bottle of water, whatever, feel free to do that during this time. But Brad's going to put up the first question. But when you come back from that break, at your tables, discuss this question. What win have you experienced in your workflow that you are particularly proud of? So what is something in your production setup that you are proud of and that you would consider a win? And discuss that with your table. And remember what I said earlier about that part of this is connecting with each other. So if you're seated at a table with, I think we're mixed here and everybody has somebody that's not from their church. But if you are at a table with only people from your church, or you're sitting at a couch or whatever, group up with people that aren't just with your church for these conversations, because obviously you would all probably have a similar win if you're from the same church, but also so you can get connected with each other. So we'll take 10. Yeah, we'll take about 10 minutes on this question, and then I'll hop up and lead us to another question, and then we'll jump back into a little bit of a session. So cool. Let's take 10 minutes.
All right, Michael's in the middle of a conversation here. Anybody have any big wins that they want to share? That they're like, oh my gosh, praise the Lord, this happened. We got 20 volunteers at our invitation. Anybody have anything to share? Oh, don't be shy. I know you're production people and you don't like to talk on a microphone. Nothing? Okay. Oh, well, I thought he was raising a hand. We'll go to the next question. I hear some great conversations. In addition to the successes, we often are presented with challenges. So take turns and share your biggest production challenge that you're facing right now.
But
But
it can't be volunteers.
it can't be volunteers. You got.
We all have that problem. So let's just all understand that we all have that problem and talk about other things that are challenges.
About 5 minutes for this one.
Yeah. All right. Does anybody, sorry, I scared everybody. I apologize. Does anybody have a good one for a challenge that they're willing to share? You make me share my challenge? Nobody at all. Everybody's no challenges at their church. That's wild. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Does anybody have a lot of windows in their sanctuary they're dealing with? Yeah, I toured a space the other day with a church planner, and it's a cafeteria, and it was a wall of windows. And I said, and I was looking, I said, well, the stage can't go there or there or there. And so it is a challenge. I think lighting for video is a huge deal. And a lot of us like, that's beautiful, right? Stained glass, the room is beautiful, but it's not made for the tradition, the modern environment of worship. So that's one I heard people talking about. Yes. Yeah, like that. Oh, so you can't get a shot of him. Oh, that's yeah. Camera angles in the room. It's tough, right? Because you don't want to like be a distraction to the congregation, but you also want to get the right shot so your online viewers can do it. That's actually a great segue. I was talking to Chris back here about live stream audio and some of the things they're doing there and it's working, but it's requiring an additional volunteer. So I told him I'd let that slide. It did involve volunteers, but it wasn't quite the way, but it involves an extra position. So that's a challenge. So glad to hear it. I loved hearing the conversations in the room. I think it's cool to like share that. And I know there were probably some tables you were sitting at. They're like, yeah, I'm struggling with that too. And able to just commiserate over that. But we are running behind. So I'm going to be quiet now and hand it back over to Brad for our next session.
Thank you, Michael. To your drummer thing you were just talking about for the drum. Friend of mine has a video production company. He showed me these. They're on Amazon. There's things that you can purchase on Amazon. It's crazy. There's got a lot of variety of stuff. But anyway, but they're small little cameras. Zowie Cam. Zowie is the name of the company. You know it's quality with the same name like Zowie. But yeah, to have a fixed camera shot, they're beautiful camera shots right on the drummer. That's just something you might want to do since you don't have a regular camera angle. Just put it right over his hi-hat, and he's just, it's a good mix-up thing. So there's a solution. There we go. So now we're going to dive in a little bit of some cool uses of Renewed Vision products, ProPresenter specifically in some of these cases. And again, we're running a little bit behind, so we're going to show you cool uses of Renewed Vision products. This was actually built in ProPresenter, a nice little animation. Everybody say, ooh, ah. It's kind of cool. So that's just using this. It's using the build function of multiple objects, and yeah, so that's a little animation that you can do in ProPresenter, and I can't tell you how to do it right now. But one thing is, I mentioned that Justin and I are actually involved with an event that Chick-fil-A does for all their operators all the time, and I'm going to just show you because it's very, very typical of your church stage and video production. Is they have this gigantic video halo in a big convention center. What I'm showing you here is I want you to think outside the box. And literally when we're talking about video is to think outside the 16:9 box that you might live in, right? So what you're seeing there is we're using our PVP software and ProPresenter is feeding into it, but we're using some functionality in PVP to show our live video shots in these non-square, these non-rectangular spaces, which are much more interesting. So this is ovular, circular, if you will. And this one you'll see it's a diamond shape. So that's just people are used to looking at 16:9 images or 19:6 in some cases when you're looking at your phones all the day long. So to be able to do something different with your screens, even though the screens might be 16:9, I'll show you some examples of this in a second. But what we're doing here is we're running ProPresenter and running that out NDI over Alpha. So all the images are coming in from ProPresenter into our PVP software. So that next logo is showing in our PVP just coming in via Alpha. And then we're bringing in the video clips as well. Here's another example of that. And anybody use Stream Decks? Here I'm showing you a use of a Stream Deck. Stream Decks are inexpensive little push button devices that allow you with the push of a button to do different things. In ProPresenter and PVP, you can actually turn on your projectors or even affect audio. There's all kinds of things that you can do with the Stream Deck. So taking that kind of thing, again, I'm just trying to make you think outside the box. The tools that we're using in large productions in the corporate world that you can take to churches. So Adrian Ward did that. One thing I want to show you, Adrian's little stage display that he has sitting here on the right-hand side. Isn't that awesome? He created this beautiful stage display just for the operators. So he's running, and he's got, he can see what's going on out to the lobbies. He sees what the different stage displays are for the people that are on the stage. He has a stage display specific for the clocks, and he's taking all of those and compositing them into this secondary stage display so we can see everything that's going on all the different screen outputs that he has at one time, which I think is very creative. He has this nice little Stream Deck setup. This is a Stream Deck XL. Again, if you're not familiar with the Stream Deck, I think this one is $200, $250 for this many buttons, which is however many it is. But it allows you to make things really easy for your volunteers, to Justin's comment when he was running verse 2. So he has buttons on here, verse 1, verse 2, verse 3, chorus, go black, whatever. You can do these, create little single button hits that will then trigger different macros or different actions within ProPresenter. He takes it a step further, though. This is the lectern that the pastor is preaching from. So he has a stage display to show his sermon notes right within the lectern. Isn't that cool? But if you look on the lower right, looky there, he has another little Stream Deck, right? So that the pastor can change the slides up and down, or change the song stage layout or whatnot. So they're able to control that remotely. So Stream Decks are very, very useful. And then if that isn't enough, he also has a Bluetooth foot pedal, so he can switch the slides from stage, so he can lead worship and do that. So again, very inexpensive tools to make these kinds of things happen. Stream Deck, write that down if you wanted to find, I don't know what you would call that, this pedal, but I know that there's several different brands of pedals that do that. So anybody use the announcements layer in ProPresenter? So, yeah, okay, perhaps for your lobby outputs or whatnot. You can also use that output for your live productions. I do a lot of different work for smaller venues or for smaller events for Chick-fil-A. So they have this atrium talk. They bring in all the support center staff, and this is what the stage looks like, and she has a screen behind her. So I'm running that as an output, and I'm actually running those all off of the announcements layer. And then that live stream, they're doing it into the video switcher, and you're seeing those slides that way as well. Then I use my regular output to do the lower thirds for the stream for the vast majority of the audience that is seeing it from their homes or from their businesses. So the ability to use these different outputs and use the different layers. Again, how many different layers are in ProPresenter? Excellent. Good learners, good training right here. So you can use those different layers very, very creatively to do some very cool things. Chick-fil-A likes, again, to visually, and again, I'm using this as a corporate example, but it's don't take away that it's a corporate example. They do these things called field talks. So they're using a lot of different uses of Alpha Key. Alpha Key is where you're creating videos that can specify where things are transparent. So this is the opener, and then it goes and has this nice lead into whoever the speaker is. But what's really cool, there's a lot going on here, right? You saw the animation at the beginning, and then when it went to this frame, then it had the lower third that popped up, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the mentality of doing that. All of those are video files that are running within ProPresenter that I'm just running as a single computer running ProPresenter. My objective here is not to tell you how to do this. I can a little bit, but rather say that this is possible and for you to think outside the box. What I love is I love having this framing, right? That's the animation of that frame coming on. I have that as a prop, right? Anybody use props? Props are just different objects that you can put on the screen that just remain active until you tell them to go away. So at the very beginning, I make this prop live, and it is always active, and it's showing on my layer that's going out to the, that's showing Alpha Key. And then over that, I'm going to play this little animation. Again, this is created in a separate piece of software. It's just created in After Effects or whatnot. I play it in ProPresenter. This is another prop. But when you play a prop and you play another one, that one plays over the other. So when you put those two together, you have the frame that plays. Oh, sorry. I don't have that. Put it together with the video. You have the frame, and then that animation blows up with his name. You could do something similar inside ProPresenter, just using the animation capabilities of ProPresenter, and then it shrinks back down, and it all becomes cohesive. I love that branding far more than just a little hashtag that appears in the lower left-hand corner. Do you agree? It's branding far different from what you would typically see. It really amps up the level of your production. It's a matter of just getting creative to it. And then they also have these, if you're using a professional video switcher, there's all kinds of different protocols. I asked that in the trivia questions. VDCP is one of them. So with that, you get the ability to do A/B transitions. Well, you can actually, if you didn't know this, you can trigger different events from your video switcher within ProPresenter. So you can specify in your video switcher whenever you make this transition. If you ever watch live sports and they go to the instant replay of the touchdown that just happened, you'll see this beautiful animation that takes over the screen, and usually it always has the same sound effect, which everybody can say with me, whoosh. Even before I did it. Whoosh, it does so we don't have the sound effect here, but you have the A transition, and then the video switcher, when they trigger the salvo to do it, it's the video switcher's macro, it does this A to B transition. So you start again with A, and then it's triggering in ProPresenter a specific playlist, which you can specify in ProPresenter, so it automatically happens as an operator and sitting in front of ProPresenter. I have no idea this is happening. So it's completely just automated. So here's another example of that. So when you put that together, A to B, you put it together, we were going from a video that we were playing back, and then we have a transition that goes right back to the live camera shot, all happening from triggers within ProPresenter. Again, it's a means of kind of making your live streams more cohesive and doing better branding a little bit better. I love it and just thought it was pretty cool. Skipping around a little bit. This is from Orange Conference, and a lot of people were talking that I was talking to about the successes and whatnot. They're talking about, hey, we're doing lower thirds, and we're showing sermon notes or doing pips. So oftentimes you'll show the slide along with your pastor. It may be on the screen or maybe on a live stream. This was a very creative way, I think, to make this happen. So they have the live stream, but then they're using ProPresenter, and they have a very subtle shadow, right? So it's semi-transparent that they're outputting, and they do all the sermon notes on the left-hand side. I was running this production, so I was taking a picture of the multi-screen in this, not the actual output. So here's another example. I just think that looks fantastic. If you have a clean background, it's a look I'd not seen before. It's far cleaner and more cohesive. It puts things together far better than just, putting people in a box. So that's something you can take away, again, just using ProPresenter in a different way. Aaron John Lugaski, Life Point Church, he runs youth, right? So youth ministry is a great place to try things out because they're more cutting edge. I talked about the youth and the power of youth and volunteers or whatnot. So this is, if you turn up the video or the volume a little bit. He put all this together. If you're not familiar with the timeline function of ProPresenter, he sequenced all of these slides right within ProPresenter so you can play this out of ProPresenter. He created just these different... I'm going to shut up for a second. That's just being very creative as opposed to just saying, hey, we're going to show the same words on the screen. Now, what's wrong with that? Anybody notice? Well, yeah, it was a little bit off, and you could adjust that, sure. But yeah, you don't have the ability to show slides before that. So for youth, though, these are songs that they've sung 15 times, so you want to get them amped up. But I just thought it was a really creative use. You can do these things right within ProPresenter now. Just create, not every slide of words has to look exactly the same. You can really add impact by doing different, laying out each slide in different ways. So we were honored as a team to be part of this event earlier this year called Gather 25. Anybody familiar with Gather 25? Well, you should be, because it was the ambition of Gather 25 was to gather together the 3 billion Christians on earth for 25 hours of worship. So if you weren't involved, well, then clearly you're not a good Christian. And we were asked, because they wanted to bring the 3 billion Christians for this 25-hour broadcast, they're originating it from 6 different continents, and they wanted lyric and scripture and sermon notes in 16 different languages. Location information in 16 different languages. That is to say, when they were live in Africa, we wanted to show, hey, live in Rwanda, right, and what the local time is there. A live look-in from the thousands of gatherings. So they had all these different gathering locations. Could be in a living room, could be in a church campus or whatnot. But they were able to zoom in to our master control, and we wanted to show these look-ins to that living room or to these other churches or whatnot. These are all the requirements that we were required to do this. Anybody ever run ProPresenter in 16 different languages all at the same time? No hands. Shocking. The QR code gives you an in-depth. far more than what I'm doing here about how we did that. If you want to scan that, it's a YouTube video that we produced for it. But we actually, we were at TBN's broadcast facilities in Texas, and we used one of their stages for our control room. So this is our master control room, and you can see all the different outputs that we were using here. Each one of those has the Gather 25 logo, but it has the different welcome to in different languages. Here's another example. And all of those are coming off of one ProPresenter machine. Pretty cool, huh? 16 different outputs out of one ProPresenter machine. So we had just a little hack, and this is one of the things that we love to do for the local church, for these big gatherings or whatnot. That's what inspires us. But they said we need to do this. Well, I don't want to sync up 16 different machines, so we were able to take this, create a solution where we were able to bring in from a spreadsheet. You'd have all these different translators who would do each individual slide's translation into these 16 different languages. We could suck that all into ProPresenter so that whenever we play the English, because that's my native language, I would follow along with the worship in English. It would automatically show the translations on these 16 different languages on these 16 different outputs. So that was a great fun. And that inspires us for how could the other churches use this kind of functionality, which I'll get to in a little bit. Let's see. Connectivity. So if you're not aware, what we're trying to do with ProPresenter, as I said, is empower and leverage more for less, or leverage less for more. So a way that we do that is we have our own API that we're able to integrate with a lot of different other systems that are out there. I mentioned video switchers. You could use your Stream Decks to control different things. We have our ProPresenter control application, which I'll talk about. We've just revised our remote applications, our mobile applications, as well as SMPTE timecode. Anybody use SMPTE timecode for special events or whatnot, where you're running time code so it sequences lights and sound and whatnot? Typically, when this is going to happen at Easter and Christmas, that's when you say, hey, let's bring out the big guns. Let's bring out SMPTE. This, by the way, is the 7 different layers. If you were, there's masks, messages, props. There you go. There's 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, there's 8, but messages and props are on the same. I'm sorry. I'm kind of getting off topic. So we also introduced something new, which is our ProPresenter Lyric banner. I was getting at this idea of intimacy, right? We're sacrificing intimacy when you get into big rooms. So I created this actually for my own youth room that I gather in, and this is actually me taking this picture. It's just a simple LED screen. Typically, LED screens are very expensive, and so I wanted to create a solution that was going to allow people to see the words, because all my worship leader friends that are leading church in these different environments that have screens on either side of the stage, nobody's eyes are focused the same way. They're at the front of the stage leading worship to a congregation like this, and unlike your eyes that are looking towards me, everybody's eyes are looking this way and that way. So it can be, I like to focus everybody's attention. So we created the Lyric banner for that purpose. It's a purpose-built LED screen that we built, that allows us to, it's a resolution specifically made for words or whatnot. Uses standard power, standard 120 volt power, simple setup without any special knowledge of how LEDs work. Purpose built. There's not a lot of Lego pieces. Typically LED screens are made with a lot of Lego pieces that you have to kind of put together yourself. Versatile, takes 2 hours, 2 people to set up. And it's built to last. So if you're interested in that, it has handles on either side. You can see more about that on our website. But some other things that we have been working on, just showing you some features. We come out with these features, and a lot of people aren't aware of these things. So if you are, it's just a review of some of the more recent things that we have put out there. Windowed outputs. This gives you the ability to create a window to show the preview of whatever is going on any one of your output screens. You can just create another window for that. This is also useful if you're ever using it in a Zoom call or a meeting and you only have one, your laptop, you don't have an external screen. You can create a separate window and say, hey, I want to share my ProPresenter's output window, right, without having an extra output. So that's become a very useful function for us. We introduced Aircast, and Aircast allows you to AirPlay from your phone, your iPad, or whatnot directly to the screen. So that could be used for sermon notes, to share photos, or if you're doing like a FaceTime call to a missionary or whatnot, you can Aircast that, so I can be sitting here and be talking to this person and then Aircast it to the screen. Anybody familiar with The Chosen? It's one of my favorite series. I think It's just a phenomenal thing. We have been able to, in partnership with them, bring all of these different various clips of The Chosen into ProPresenter directly. So you can search by scripture, you can search by scene, by episode or whatnot. If you're not aware, this is freely available. You just have to sign up for a free Pro Content account, and all these different video clips are available. So you don't have to bring up the sound for this, but instead of saying, hey, Jesus commanded Simon to put in his net to fish, you can actually show that, because I think it helps people's understanding when they can see video dramatization of exactly what happens in these cases. So I think this is episode 4. It's awesome. Love it. So all these clips are available right within the software. And then more recently, we've added the ability to, over the years, maybe even 76 years, if you've had ProPresenter running for 76 years, you've probably built up a lot. Was it 76? How many was it? I forget. What was the age of the oldest church here? 60. Yeah. Your ProPresenter files have probably built up over that time. So we've given you the ability in recent times to gain back some of that storage space. So we've given you the ability in version 19. We gave you the ability to clean up all that automatically. As I mentioned, we just re-revved our remote applications for iOS as well as for Android. Here's a glimpse of that, the ProPresenter remote.
Every moment without leaving your spot. Trigger macros, fire props, switch between looks, and access entire collections right from your device. The redesigned UI puts everything at your fingertips, with customizable views that fit how you work. Whether you're on stage, in the booth, or across the room, you're in full control. Start using it today. Available on both the App Store and Google Play.
Sounds like I'm showing a commercial, but I'm really just telling you what's available. This is available for free. Everybody know that this is now for free, so no charge. You can download this right now and use it at your church or at your university, free of charge. It's included with your subscription. So, version 21, we've introduced 2 new features that I think I've been looking forward to a long time.
New in ProPresenter. Say hello to a new workflow. With the new PowerPoint importer, you can bring in PowerPoint files directly as editable presentations, complete with your text, slide objects, media, and even simple animations. No PowerPoint required.
There we
We've
go.
also added missing font handling. So when a font isn't available, you'll be
And
notified.
then missing font handling because you don't have the
No
font
more
that your pastor
surprises on
used in the PowerPoint
And
presentation.
now, with HDR support, your content looks better than ever, with brighter highlights, richer colors, and true-to-life contrast. Version 21 also fully supports the latest Apple update, macOS 26 Tile. Get ProPresenter version 21 today and experience a smoother, sharper, more flexible workflow. Update
So we're on
right
like
now or
the
download latest version.
6th release, I think, of the beta of version 21. These are things I've wanted to do for a long time. But the PowerPoint import, who hasn't gotten those PowerPoint? Oh, my slides are done in PowerPoint. And typically, there's no good way to do it. So we typically have exported as JPEGs and brought them in, or we've had to use PowerPoint, and it's just not been a clean experience to bring those in. PowerPoint's a great tool for business presentations. We believe the best tool for presenting PowerPoints is ProPresenter. So we've given you a tool to bring in all of those objects as best we're able to. We'll match the animations and the builds and whatnot. And really excited about that feature as well as the missing font handling. So that is some of the stuff that we've worked on, right, over the last few months. And every time that we do one of these, we're doing 2 every 4 months or so of these backstage passes. I have to review this. And so there's lots of stuff that we've done. And it's humbling to me because we've been able to do a lot of different things, and I'm really excited to share that with you. But what you're probably more interested in is some of the things that we're thinking about. And with that, I want to bring our Director of Development, Justin, up here to share the stage. Justin didn't even know he was coming 24 hours ago. So thank Justin for coming, because truth of the matter is that he has a Tesla and he has the full self-driving function, and I wanted him to drive, so I wanted the car to drive here because it's really cool. But I also like to spend time with him. So really, everything about the modern ProPresenter experience you can thank Justin for, or blame him for, whichever the case may be. But He's had a tremendous impact on what ProPresenter is and what it will be in the future. So I'm very, very grateful for him. So now we're going to share some things with you that we're thinking about. These are not necessarily features that may be forthcoming, but one of the things that you probably didn't know is that we redeveloped our render engine inside the software. Hopefully you didn't notice. I mean, there were some glitches along the way, but that happened several versions ago. And the reason we did that was to make things cleaner, smoother, to allow us to do some things, some advancements in animations and builds and whatnot. And one of the things that we'd like to do with that new technology that we're using is text animations. So to do things like this, where you have builds that are beyond just doing cross dissolves and whatnot, that again could be more impactful for worship. And so I'm going to show you some examples of what might be possible with that. And then at the end, I'm going to go through all these different features and kind of get a show of hands. But if you'd like to snap or clap or whatever for any of these things, as I show them to you, we'd welcome that as well. Sound? So as opposed to just a cross dissolve, to have these kinds of builds, or you're going to get tired of hearing the song. Just a subtle movement up, blurring in of the words over a moving background or over a live camera shot. I like this one a lot. Sing along if you want. So that's one of the new things that we have the ability to do now. We haven't implemented it yet, but would that be helpful? You use that? All right. Well, there you go. There's the.
So we should do it.
We should do it. Totally. To that end, though, it got us into this idea of what we do beyond words, right? So one of the things we're talking about is to use what are called animated stickers. And these animated stickers would be a palette of things, of different objects or whatnot, that you could lay out on the stage that would allow you to kind of build your own background slides or whatnot from different pieces. So you don't have to know video editing or whatnot. You can kind of put pieces together. So I could have these, you know, if you're making a point in a sermon series, I could circle it as opposed to just, you know, something simple. It's like little animations like that, right? To show what that might look like, this is just a mock-up of what we could do to create sort of a sermon series title package. So if we had a library of these kinds of files, it just allows you to be more creative with your building within the editor. Could be.
Oh man, don't put that on me.
So some other things that we can do with the render engine, more advanced gradients that you would see in other packages, dynamic slide object transitions, more than what we're doing now. Lyric scrolling. Anybody familiar with, if you ever seen like iTunes has this karaoke mode when you're showing the lyrics to kind of do more of that kind of thing? We're talking about doing that. Per line text gradients, text wrapping with yeah, there's a lot more that we can do with our graphics engine that we're talking about doing. And from the applause, it sounds like that would be pretty popular. So we will take note of that. Another thing that we're thinking about is with regards to training. It's great that we have these tutorials, but when you're giving this task to volunteers, it's hard to just say, hey, go watch this 2-hour tutorial or go watch this. They want to have some sort of feeling of achievement, even if it is that certificate that has the gold star on it or whatnot. So we're talking about creating what is essentially ProPresenter University. And this is a series of training that allow people to monitor progress, for you monitor individuals' progress and see the training that they've completed. Not only that they've watched the video, but they've been quizzed on it to know that they've completed these different tasks. So this is actually something that we're in the middle of developing further to see. But that would be, show of hands, pretty popular. Applause otherwise. Very good. If you would like to beta test any features that we may come out with, There's the QR code. I wish I had I always like to see a URL. I don't have it here, but I'll give you a few seconds. We welcome our beta testers. If you'd like to be part of our beta testing group, then you can take a screenshot. This is before we put the betas out on Facebook or whatnot, which we do. We would welcome them on some of these areas. It's not required to take part in these betas, but if you see a feature like, hey, I do PowerPoint importing all the time, I'd love to see that. We would love to get your feedback. Everybody good? Okay. Some other things that we're thinking about. I did bring you up here for a reason, but I'm
not sure why.
I'm not sure. It was really more for the Q&A, I guess. But hey, I'm glad you're here. It's moral support. So yeah, some things we're thinking about, like I said, the lyric scrolling like Apple Music. Text follow path. That is to say, you could create a path and have the text kind of follow that. Again, being more creative. Dynamic text effects. I already mentioned that. Let's see. Dynamic data links. Would that be like, this is the thing that we did for Gather. Anybody do multilingual churches? Okay, a few of you. Another thing that I do with the again, these are like hack tools that have been put together, is I do this event for Delta where I need 150 different lower thirds. Maybe you have a baccalaureate you want to show, or a graduation, or these different special events that you do, that you have all these different people that are coming across the stage. You need to show lower thirds for each of them, right? So in the case of this event that I work for Delta, it has their name, it has what division they're in, how many years they've been there, etc. Well, we can bring all that data into ProPresenter via a hack right now, but we're talking about potentially making it a live link to a spreadsheet or whatnot, so you can bring in this data and create 150 lower thirds, that fast. Would that, I don't know how. Okay, all right, cool. There's some of these things we don't even know how people would use it, but I have such confidence that, oh my gosh, that would be so useful. So there you go. Audience interaction. A means of taking a poll of your audience, or giving the ability for people to see slides on their mobile phone, take notes on their mobile phone. Anybody do anything with that now? Use any tools to allow? Do you? Can I ask what your tool is? Okay, gotcha. I know that YouVersion has in their Bible app, they have the ability to go live so that you can see the scripture and also show slides in there and take notes. And that's a very good tool. But we're talking about, okay. Okay. And oftentimes whenever we say this, like polling is generally something that people are really, but you're not going to do polling of your audience all the time. We took this to the extreme, and one of my partners said, well, what if like when you're watching the debate, and CNN has the ability for that focus group to say what they liked about the debate and what they didn't like about the debate. Your pastor could track it on their stage display in real time. I'm sure your pastors would love that, wouldn't you? But the ability to do polling, of an audience or whatnot, we're talking about potential ways of doing that. All right. Live video input previews in the media bin. There was somebody over here that was saying that they're using ProPresenter for their live video. To be able to show live video input previews is something that we've put into our PVP product, but haven't yet put into ProPresenter. So we're talking about doing that. Other things that we're thinking about. Pro remote updates. Anybody use the Telestrator function? Okay, so we're
we found them.
They're few, but they are passionate. And I hated getting rid of it, but the reason we got rid of it is because we didn't do it well, and we wanted to do it better. And so part of that, the bridge of that, was the ability to do AirPlay, so that you could use an app on and get complete, pastors like to see what they're drawing on and whatnot. But we're talking about bringing that telestration function back as well in ProPresenter, perhaps, or in the Pro Remote. Bible updates. Who uses the Bible function? It hasn't been updated in a while, and we're thinking about kind of doing an overhaul to make that easier to use, and potentially another feature that I'll get to in a second that might make that helpful. What were the other things we were going to do for Bibles? Do you remember? I'm putting you on the spot.
Make it available in the remote.
Yeah. But in the interface itself, it's just a better design of the interface.
Yeah, be able to set like different themes for different screens.
Yeah.
But right now you have to work through the looks for that.
That's true.
Make it easier.
Yep. Multi-language support. Who was using multiple languages? Just a few. Okay. give you the ability to work with that more so that you can have words in different languages and be able to edit those independently. That's been a long requested feature for multilingual churches. What about an online editor? So you don't actually have to be in front of your ProPresenter machine to do edits. If you could see your slides online and edit the slides online. Okay, so there's no interest in that whatsoever. So we can move on. AI enhancements. So everybody's talking about, what are you doing with AI? What are you doing with AI? And it's hard. I mean, like we don't want to just throw something out there. Hey, we did this with AI, so we're an AI focused company or whatnot. But there are things that we could do. There's a hack that a friend of ours that was a former employee put together that they asked me to show. So I'm going to show it, much to the chagrin of him.
Were the word at the beginning, one with God.
So what are you seeing here? He is singing, and AI is listening to him and automatically changing the slide when he gets to the third to the last word.
Now revealed in you are Christ.
So there's that, which I think is kind of cool, but ProPresenter operators have a purpose, right? I'm not so much into the idea of running slides based upon what the worship leader is singing, because again, we are the worship leaders running ProPresenter. We need to be in control. However, I like the idea that whenever the worship leader goes off script, if we could come up with he may be singing verse 3, because I'm not, oh my gosh, he's not singing what where is that? And I'm scrambling and whatnot. Everybody has been in that position. But more importantly, if you have extemporaneous preachers that throw out, in Jeremiah, whatever, just if we could immediately just say, all right, here it is, and I could click a button and automatically show that, would that be helpful? Okay, so that would be a good use of AI. Good. Another thing that we're talking about is digital signage. Anybody use any digital signage platforms in their church? Can you throw out names? Proclaim, okay. Don't know the name. That's fine. Daktronics. Wow. I've never heard in church setting. I've never heard that used in a church setting. That's great. Anybody else? Yodec. What? I'm sorry? OptiSigns, yeah. So there's all kinds of different digital signage applications. What if we had the ability to export your ProPresenter slides directly to and control them and say, hey, this digital sign, like Hallway 1 is going to have this presentation. Hallway 2 is going to have this presentation, have their own, and be able to control all that from your ProPresenter machine. Oh, and then by the way, perhaps be able to download the slides and the videos to there, and then with a remote, go through them just as a forward and next in a simple basis. That would be cool. Very good. Well, we're talking about doing that as well. Thinking about doing that. So it's not anything that we're doing, but we're thinking about it. And then cloud support. So I mentioned, we have the ability for volunteers to use this and use it from their home, and we make it freely available. What if you had the ability to, maybe you have multiple campuses, and when you edit something on one screen or on one ProPresenter machine, it automatically shows up on the other. You could edit it home and it automatically shows up. Your pastor could create his slides at home. Is this something you'd be interested in? Good, because we're doing this. So, sorry. Let me go back. Everybody, raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear that none of the information I'm about to hear will I put on any kind of social media or tell any friends about or otherwise. Amen. Seriously, we're not announcing this. This is why you came here, is so you hear these different things and we can get the feedback on this. But we are developing a cloud solution. This cloud solution is an open collaboration solution. So it's not just a matter of you're creating a presentation, you're uploading it to a cloud that can be downloaded. It's far more interactive, like you're used to with Google Sheets or Google Docs or whatnot. So when I'm making an edit inside a presentation, you can be inside the same presentation and see those edits happening. So this is something that we're working on and hoping to come out with in the next couple of months. Again, I'll show that beta thing if you want to be a part of that, because we need a lot of beta testers for this. But here's some different, that's like the startup sequence. So the way that this would work is that each one of your workspaces, we introduced this new idea of workspaces a couple versions ago. This allows you to kind of compartmentalize maybe your youth group services that are in the church from your adult worship services, from your Christmas services or whatnot. You can have different workspaces. Now you can actually say, I want to make this workspace available in the cloud. So your morning adult worship gatherings, you can have a workspace for that's in the cloud that any of your volunteers can then have access to that. You can control that. And any changes that happen within there would be made available. So those clouds those workspaces could be local or they could be on the cloud. If they are on the cloud, then when a change is made, it would be shown, and you just have this active connection to the cloud so that you're always getting those changes. In this, you would have a certain amount of space. You could manage all of your users. These are just kind of screenshots. I don't have a demonstration for you today, but it is really, really cool. It's working really, really well. And it's kind of weird to see, these changes happen automatically inside the slide when I'm in the editor. There's all the different users and the space that I'm taking up with and whatnot. But this is taking advantage of the fact that we went to user accounts in our ProPresenter subscription, and allows you to have multiple users on your account. So you can now add that capability to enable them to each individual user to edit on individual workspaces. So that's good stuff. Very good. Well, that is the stuff that we're thinking about doing, in a little glimpse of what we're coming out with. I really appreciate your feedback. I know that you're just clapping your hands at different things, but that does mean a lot. And we do take note of these things, of these different features, because it does greatly influence. But I'll now give you the opportunity. Is there another microphone? Michael, you have your microphone. If any of you have any ideas of things, oh my gosh, ProPresenter doesn't do this and it really needs to. If anybody has anything that there's a hand in the way in the back. You get to walk all the way back there, Michael.
I'm
Or
just
you
going
can
to let
shout it
him
out.
talk and then I'll repeat it. I'm just kidding. Yeah. Right. So basically just a freeze of the output.
Yeah, we had in ProPresenter version 3, we had a lock function so that you could not accidentally trigger slides. So you can go back to version 3 and you'll have that functionality.
But you have to have a computer that can support that. So, but yeah, that's a good one. We made a note of it.
It's a good request. We've gotten it occasionally. Take it as good feedback.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know I can window capture something on my screen through NDI tools like other things. Love window capture inside of ProPresenter.
So would I. Absolutely want that.
I'm sure there's legality involved in that. Like,
No.
Like YouTube and
No.
Disney Plus won't allow
Right.
us to use screen capture and things like that. But I'm not showing a Netflix video. I'm just showing
Sure.
some random web page my pastor wants to see.
Absolutely. 100%. Love it's on our list of tickets as well. I should put that bullet point on here, but thank you for bringing it up. And I'll tell how popular it is by applause if this is a feature that we should do. Would you like to be able to bring in a live video input of some other screen that's on your computer? Thank you. Thank you very much. I was kind of pulling on that one.
Yes, you were. Okay, so just like more things that are dockable, like the search window and stuff that already is like that. Okay.
Yeah, we had more of that in Pro 6 and tried to get rid of that because it kind of made for a cluttered and confusing thing. So it's a hard thing because I oftentimes want that too, to customize my interface more. But yeah, appreciate the feedback.
inside of the editor.
Yeah, it is.
And since you guys have put it there, I haven't been able to figure out how to actually use it, how to pull up a screen and be able to launch it and be able to scroll and all of that. I don't know. But I liked it better when it was separate versus inside of the editor. I don't know how many others can use that web browser feature and how many people like it inside of the editor, but I think it was more user friendly when it was outside of it.
Yeah, I think that would go back to what he was requesting a second ago, because really the existing web browsers on the computer would be much better at that than anything we would build in the application.
That's
But
the
yeah.
reason that we got rid of it, is because the web browser experience inside the app, in order for it to be good, required what, 600 megabytes, that we increased the size of the application by a very large degree. And then, but it was just using, not to get technical, it was going to use Chromium, and that was going to be the web engine. And well, why not just be able to use Safari or Chrome? So if I gave him what he wanted, then you would get what you want, which you could use whatever browser that you want. It would be far more better performance, better performance.
But the feature that he talked about a second ago with Aircast would also be a great way
Yeah.
to do that on your phone. Like you could be on a website and just sharing your screen to purpose as well. So yeah, you can do it on Windows as well.
To be able to customize, yeah, it would be nice to be able to customize the clock from Planning Center that's in Purpose Center.
Like, give me an example.
So basically, whatever, when we're putting the Purpose on Planning Center clock on stage display, whatever format that it gives you, that's what it is, and we can't customize that clock.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Justin, but that would be because of the Planning Center API.
Yeah, that's more or less it. But yes, we can do that.
That was like a web view that we were using for that.
Not anymore.
Oh, really? Okay. See, you learn things when you come to these things.
Sure.
Countdown timer. Is there any way that you would be able to set a countdown timer up where you can actually put a physical timer from like the countdown time? Any one of those countdown timers? They're like 5-minute countdown timers. If you're not right there exactly on 5 minutes, then you try to start the timer.
I'm not sure.
I built my own countdown timer for church.
Okay.
And I used the
Like it's video files?
yeah.
Okay.
But I didn't do it as video. I did it as something on the screen in the presentation. But I used countdown timers for start Sunday school, start church,
Sure.
start evening service. I use different timers for those different countdowns. But all the countdown timers you have in the basics are all like 5-minute countdown timers.
There's a countdown to time option that you can choose to set it to like 9 a.m. or
No, I do that in
Okay.
the presentation. But all the countdown timers you guys have in your system,
you can change those
Oh.
too.
I haven't been able to figure out.
Are you
Yeah,
saying
I'll,
like,
I'll be happy to show you.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Second thing, is there any way that you can set up something in the Bible section that will change your looks? Like look screen, 'cause I'll do one on the
that's
audio screen, something else on the stage screen, and something different on the overflow screen.
Yeah, that's part of the overhaul of the Bible interface we're talking about right now. Yeah. So no, there's not a way to do it right now, but we're working on it.
Right now, you could go to the screens menu and do it from there, but yeah.
I do mine backwards.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know where to backwards.
That's a good way to do it. Yeah. You came from Baltimore, so you definitely get to ask a question.
The image you had of the one person that had a screen output and they had their own little layer of all the screens. Is there a way to do that with like the new tool that you had, the window?
The windowed output.
The windowed output, so that you can then take a windowed output and then you can modify how that windowed output looks. Because right now, the windowed output, you won't have a select view.
You can make any of your screens a windowed output. So you would just, the way that you would do this in Purpose Center is like create a stage screen and create a stage screen layout with a preview of all your screens. And then and then you can make it a windowed output. And
to be clear, when I show this slide, he hates it because this doesn't come for free. Every time that you're actually doing a windowed output or you're showing additional content in another stage display or whatnot, it's taxing your computer. And the more you tax the computer, the more likely it is that there's going to be unexpected behavior, which then you're going to complain to Michael in support,
Yeah.
and support is going to then tell Chris.
I would
Justin.
say the most often solution to a system performance issue that we get, like, hey, Purpose Center's running slow. I'll go look at their screens and immediately see a screen called multi-view. And and I'll say, hey, just to test this, can you delete that? And they're like, oh, that fixed it, because you're re-rendering every screen onto that screen. And so you just need to make sure you have enough
Horsepower.
computing power to do that.
The great thing is computers are faster than they've ever been before. So it's time to upgrade.
Yeah, go ahead.
Pro Video Server, is that officially gone?
Pro Video Server is not officially gone. We are not committing to do any more updates to it at this time. There's a lot of customers that love and use it, but it's really hard to give a proportionate, even a disproportionate amount of care for an application that's just used by a very few people. It served a great purpose for a time, and I love it. And my church loves it, and they really want us to do an update for it, but it's just really hard to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is that proprietary? Because we stream on YouTube. So if I were to use that during my pastor's sermon, is the possibility where somebody else is watching it that YouTube will pick it up and put limited on it because it's not?
You are allowed to.
That doesn't mean they're not going to do it.
It doesn't mean that YouTube isn't going to do it just because of their
It's more likely that Facebook would do it than YouTube, but it is very likely.
And there
that they
is
still-
on the pro content site, it has the portion about the chosen and what your official usage of that stuff is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for the future updates, like the cloud storage, I was actually talking to him about it, so that would fix a lot of my problems. But would the data also live in your computer? Because when
Yes.
okay.
All content will continue to play directly from your computer. We're not going to stream content.
Yeah, one thing that was really, we were having a meeting about this the other day. I wrote this down in big bold letters and told the rest of my team immediately, was that the stuff will still be local. So if we lose connection to the internet, or you lose connection, if God forbid AWS outage, stuff like that happens, you'll still have the version that exists on your computer. So yeah, you may have made edits on Thursday and you come in on Sunday and for some reason there's an outage or something and you can't get it, but you still do have the version that you had the last time it synced. So it'll still be, we're not streaming data over the cloud. Yeah. So you're saying drag and drop from the media bin onto a slide? Right, it's a media action. So you should be able to right click on the media action and go to inspector or even to scaling.
If you're going to change this,
Scale.
not so in 7 and 6 and all the ones before, when you drag it onto a slide or drag it into the presentation area, it adds it as in 6 it was called a media queue, in 7 it's called a media action. Same thing. But either way, it was playing on the background there. You saw the slide there. If you want to go in and change the position of it, like crop in or choose, I don't know, scale it down. If it's not one of the predefined scale modes of like scale to fit, scale to fill, then you would right click and convert it to a slide element. Yeah.
Come see me after. I'll show you, because I think there is a way to do it. It's just maybe a little bit different than what it was before.
We're on to just normal Q&A.
Yeah, normal
if anybody-
Q&A. So no, you're
No, you're
good.
fine.
That's what this is for. Yeah.
Not exactly related or like software related, but on Sunday at one point they had a webinar with Good Guy yesterday. Was all of that, was any of that done in ProPresenter or you know?
It was played back.
It was played back?
Yeah, but they built all that. It was very cool. I saw it too. Yeah, it was, but they built that all. It was all to a track, and yeah, but it was cool. We'd love for that's the whole idea, is to do that so you don't actually have to use After Effects or some other product to, yeah. But it was just a video.
Other questions? I know we're at 4:30, so I understand if you have to jump out, but would love to keep going.
What other question is for my background? I pay like $50 to Motion Workshop to do backgrounds, and I like some of your backgrounds that you all have, but like for what we use them for, we use backgrounds that specifically says Bible or tithes and offering or communion on them.
Yeah.
You know, welcome and goodbye and things of that. And I noticed that the backgrounds that you guys use, they really don't have any text or anything like that.
So in Pro Content, I use it that way too. In Pro Content, we have it's, I don't remember what I think it's called, announcements on the website. Sorry, guys. I know better. They're called announcements in Pro Content, and they have, it doesn't say necessarily exactly what you're saying, but they are Photoshop files, so you can download the Photoshop files and make it say whatever you want to. So those do exist for like every sermon series that exists in Pro Content. There's an accompanying announcement pack, basically, that I think, I can't remember exactly what they say, but they say welcome and tithes and offerings and things like that. But you can edit it to say whatever you want it to say. So I can show, and we can show you.
One practical one. You used to, and I don't know if you still do, had a way to remotely put in like message to them. So like children.
Yeah, it's still there.
Is it still there? Because it was really funky and it always failed.
Yeah, it's still there in the messages thing. If you enable it for a web view or enable web messages. No.
Yeah, it does work through the new remote. It's still there on the web messages. But yes, if you kind of need to like fix the IP address of the computer. It's not great. I think we can do better.
Yeah, and the big support issue we see with that is people disabled notifications 2 years ago when they installed ProPresenter, and that's required of that. So that would be the big issue we see with that. Real quick, I have a question. Am I allowed to ask a question?
No.
I am. Raise your hand. I know a lot of people are leaving, so I want to get this before everybody leaves. Raise your hand if you've interacted with my team, the support team, in the last year. Well, we appreciate it. I'm not going to ask it the way that I think my boss asked it last week, Jonathan. But I just wanted to say to those people, you've interacted with us in 2025. You've also interacted with a robot, to be honest with you. So we've been implementing AI in support. What we're finding is about half the time it's really great, and about half the time it needs some more. To say to this group of people that like what we're working on with our AI agent is to make that experience less frustrating, but very, very helpful. What it's done is, Brad said the number of 82,000 last year. We're going to be probably 110, 115,000 this year. But that AI agent is solving about 50% of our tickets for us, which means that what's happening is, I was talking to somebody earlier about like setting something up, and they're like, well, you can't log in and look at my computer, can you? The answer is yes, because AI is handling about 50% of that volume. So we've added people to our team as our customer base has grown, but it's taking care of enough and making even the harder issues go faster with human agents because it's gathering information first. And so it may be frustrating, but let me just encourage you that if you give it the information it's asking for and then ask for a human, and if then it even says something to the effect of, before I get you to a human, I need to get blah, 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 blah. If you give it what it's asking for, what it's going to mean is that the human agent has more information to work off of when they give it to the human agent, and you'll get it solved a lot faster. So we are working to improve that. I have an agent who spends over half his time every week improving our AI, and it's gotten immensely better in the last 2 months as we've done that. And as we give it more context for people's issues, it's only going to keep getting better. Know that we are absolutely not replacing humans with AI. At Renewed Vision, our support team is still grown by 2 agents this year and will continue to grow next year. But it is making it a lot faster.
Yeah, the idea is to get it. Trust me, as a consumer, I can't stand talking to robots. I'd much rather talk to a chat robot, by the way, than go through a phone tree system that every single prompt says, please listen carefully as our menu options have changed. I was on jury duty right? And they have the number to call, right, to find out if I'm actually going to report. And the first thing they say, please listen carefully. Like, I remember what the menu options were for jury duty when I last, anyway, it's so silly. But as a consumer, I don't like not talking with humans when I don't think that the solution's it. But he's absolutely right. It allows us to serve our customers much better so that we can triage and get you to an agent that is going to best know the right answer to your question as well. So that's the reason that we do that, is just to understand and get all the specifics to your particular problems quickly.
I gotta say that's 100% my situation. Not too long ago, I got a issue. AI gave them what they needed, and then they sent it to an agent, and then that one of you guys got back to me and said, "We already know about this issue. This and this."
Yeah. And I will say, we already know about this issue. That was probably the front end of a release. Once you get about a week or two into release, AI knows all of the issues that are primarily seen in that version, and it can detect it and get it straight to a tier 2 agent to then get it logged. So we've seen an improvement in Justin's team having customer reported issues linked faster. So anyway, it's been cool. But I want to,
if I can speak to that, just one more thing. It's a special treat since you all came to and made the time to come here, right? I show our support options on there, and I also show what the wait time typically is for these different things. So if you're using our online chat system, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. What is that right now?
that is not
Okay,
right.
that's not right. It's longer.
No, it's still just not. It's 9 to 5 is chat.
Yeah.
But the email tickets are expanded. We lost our West Coast agent. So if you know anybody in California that wants to work for me, that'd be great.
But the phone call thing, it's a secret, so don't tell anybody. There is actually, if you go to support.renewedvision.com, you can now call in.
Yeah, it's an open secret, but the AI still wants to try to solve it first. But it will get there, and we do have agents now. Look, once that gets out more, we're gonna have to readjust that a little bit, because you might start to talk to AI on the phone too. We'll see about that, but it'll be much the same as you talk to now. So, other questions? We got, I say, we got like 3 minutes. So, other questions? Yeah.
Currently, we're running 2 iMacs for our ProPresenter on one and OBS and streaming on the PC there, and we're having issues freezing up all the time on that iMac.
Yeah, what I would say, and then I'll let Justin say the same thing because he's going to, is there, right? Because we always agree on everything, right?
Definitely.
What I would say, my experience on the support side is that they have equal amount of good things happening, equal amount of bad things happening. But usually the bad things happening across the board are typically related to a system setup or limitation rather than something in ProPresenter. Each version, maybe there's more bugs on the Mac side and version. I don't know this, so Justin, don't hit me. There may be more bugs on the Mac version in version 20, and there might be more bugs on the Windows version in version 21. But there's not really like, there's not like a big difference in them. I would say they're equally great on both. What I would say in that situation is I would love the chance to like look at your system and figure out, like, is there something in the ProPresenter setup? Is ProPresenter causing a problem on Mac? Or maybe your system has something going on that's causing that issue.
Yeah, under no circumstances under any platform should you expect a freeze to happen.
Yeah.
That's not, no.
Yeah, that's definitely not. That would be something that we'd want to look at. If I was the AI agent, I would ask. I'm just kidding. Other questions? Cool. I wanted to get a real poll for a second on a few issues. Brad kind of got applause, but I want like more of a, I know a lot of people have left, but I want a formal thing here. He was talking about the CSV links, data-driven presentations. How many people in the room would be interested in that? 1, 2. I'm going to call it 12. Okay. That's so yeah. We'll call it 10, Matthew. I know you're taking notes back there. Everybody give it up for Matthew Weeks. He does such a great job. Just so you know, if you've ever had an issue with your account or had to get a refund, he's the one that did it. So you can thank him for that. The cloud, pretty much everybody was in support of that, right? Cloud. What other features?
The digital signage.
Digital signage. Raise your hand because I want to see it. Yeah, we'll call that 25. You want me to call it 50. You like that feature. All right. Well, cool. Any last questions and we'll get you guys out of here? Well, hey, I just want to say thank you for being here. We've had a great time hanging out with you guys today. I would love the opportunity to keep the conversation going. So, don't hesitate to reach out to my team. Don't hesitate to reach out to us in general. If you have questions about ProPresenter, if you have questions about production, if you have issues with ProPresenter, we'd obviously love to help you get those resolved. One of the things that frustrates me most as the director of support is I'll get on the Facebook group and people complain. And I'll go look up their name and guess what? They never reached out. And so my encouragement to you as we leave is when you have an issue, man, we would love to solve that issue for you. We would love to figure that out because the last thing I want is for your church service to suffer because something's going on in our software. That would be the absolute last thing that I think any of us would want. But we appreciate you so much as our customers. We appreciate you so much as you serve your local church and university. I didn't forget you. As you serve in those places, I just want you to know that like you are seen and you are valued. I know a lot of times in that world you feel isolated and like you're not, but please know that we value you immensely. Thank you guys so much for coming, and we hope to see you soon.